And we are now unmuted.
Professional.
This is professional because I don't have an intro for our chill
Da,
stream.
da, 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 da.
Da-da. Hello, everyone.
That's how chill it is. It's so chill we don't even need an intro.
Can we steal the In a Mirror Darkly theme from Enterprise? Because that's a
Face of the
banger.
Heart.
Yes. Let's just everyone sing "Fate of the Heart." Ready? 1, 2.
Big, pull out the acoustic. Yeah?
No,
We're not doing
Hello, everyone.
please don't do this.
Welcome to our chilled out, just chatting stream where we're here, the four of us, and joined by Mr. Rev Demar, one of the head moderators from the Timelines Discord. Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here. How the devil are you?
Thank you for having me. Good. We're just trying to get the snow all melted. It looks like most of it's gone.
Is that a euphemism or?
No, it really started to melt yesterday.
Look, it's a really heavy snowfall on Cardassia this time of year, and they've got to keep on top of it, otherwise the entire thing's a shambles.
I'm reporting this to the I can't even say it, to the Detapper Council. That's a really hard word to say. Have you ever tried to say Detapper Council?
Yeah.
Never had the
Tap for
occasion.
that council.
Comes up so often.
It really does. Every day in conversation. Especially all my friends who are equally into Star Trek and the political fascination of Cardassian history. How are we all? How is the weather? Stars, how are you?
well.
You've been waylaid with work lately.
I've been dead is what you mean. Yeah, no, it's been unpleasant to be me recently, but thankfully I will be able
I'll
to
tell sick babe
start
to
appearing
brace for
back.
hangovers.
Appropriate, honestly. Yeah, no, I'll actually be able to start appearing on shows again this week because I actually have like a proper time schedule. But it's
I'm
been
sorry,
kicking
we
my
have
ass.
other guests booked this week, Stars. So, but maybe next week we can get you in. Actually,
Don't
we do
worry,
have nifty
some of
mittens on.
Oh, we do, yes.
We'll have another 4 months gap between tabletop. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, we need to work out another date for that. That is the one problem with trying to arrange between people between different continents is, not everyone can do various times. We'll see. We'll get a date out there soon for the next SDA, but yeah. Auto, have you flipped all your
How
30
about all you
shovels
guys?
yet?
I'm still retrieving them. Then I got to figure out which ones I'm sending out.
Yeah, I'm
All the
complaining
time
minutes.
eaters, all of them.
Factions are walking
2 minutes and
apart
closing.
compared to grinding. So
I need to log in. So what have we been up to this week, guys? What's your Trek life been this week? Because there is a Trek life. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I actually took a little bit of time. I had some time to myself today, so I was trying to catch up on Lower Decks. That's what I've been trying to finish out on. I mean, I know I'm behind everybody else for everything, but just 2 episodes left to go, and then I'll be all
Nice.
caught up on Lower Decks.
Oh, I think you're coming up to one of my favourite ones. The Wedge Douche one. Have you seen that one?
No, I think that's next up. I just
Oh.
finished the Excretus of Borg.
Oh, the
Episode.
Boimler one where he does all the holodeck challenges. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a great one.
Pandronian.
Yes, with the Pandronian. The only other Pandronian we might get in the game if they ever get the lower decks rights.
This one enjoyed
Yes.
this episode.
I like how she just gets to the front and she's like, "Hey guys, I'm here."
Now, which one's that?
That is-
Who's the Pandronian?
That's
Ben.
Oh,
Ben
what was
Ben.
her name?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the original Pandronian from the animated series, which
Yeah.
is a weird
the
episode.
guy that's floating in 4 pieces
Yeah.
or whatever.
I remember when he came out in the game, and I'd not seen Taz at that point, and I was just like, the artist fucked up. He's in 3 different pieces. Look, they're not aligned the same pieces. So I actually posted that, and someone was like, "No, you idiot! That's what he's supposed to look like." I was like, "Oh right."
You've taken a perfectly good alien and given him anxiety. That's what you've done.
Yes. Brilliant.
Clutch reference.
It's just
bro.
fake fan confirmed. It's fine.
Yeah. No.
I've been accused of many things.
If you don't know about the blow up Enterprise, then clearly you aren't a true Star Trek fan. That's just the way it goes.
What was it on the? It was on the. I got called out on one of the Star Trek Online streams the other day because I couldn't remember. I was just like, "Do Cardassians have hair?" And I had to think about that for a moment. And so I was like, "Yes, of course they do." I was like, I can't. In my head, I was just like, I cannot remember if they have a head of hair or not. And then I remembered Ducat's flowing locks as he's sort of dishevelled at the end of Waltz, and I was like, "Oh yeah, yes, they do."
I was picturing Damar hungover when he wakes up and he doesn't know where he's at.
Oh, I was also thinking of oh god, Zial's like rather elaborate hairdressing.
She's
that
half
thing went
Bajoran
on.
though, so I think. Okay.
All you have to do is cross through the Bajoran and suddenly luxurious hair. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Idle, that's where you went wrong.
That is true. Hey, before I suddenly came down with a case of hair loss, I had amazing hair. It was it was like the L'Oreal advert. It was it was underneath. It was wavy,
seen it,
shimmering.
yeah.
It had lots of body.
I've seen photos. I can corroborate.
Yeah.
Yes. Somehow that's going to be blackmail.
I'm-
Speaking of Cardassians,
A
Rev
life-
Damar. Why Rev Damar? Why Reverend Damar?
Because he's a bad
Or Revolutionary Damar, should I say?
It used to be Leggett Damar,
Still on the forums,
and
aren't you?
I picked it because yes, as the forums I never changed it, but it was I picked somebody that I thought nobody else would pick. So, and then when you get the gold, you change it from Leggett to Revolutionary.
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's
So
quite
what
a few.
fusion level are you at
As far as
in real life?
fusion,
If you're Rev Damar in real life, what are you, like a 2-5? Are you 4-5? What's going on?
no, I did the honor suicide thing. He's 5-5 now.
Okay.
Of course, I should freeze him. He's not going to go in Gauntlet anymore.
Well, I'll be so bold as to say you're at least a 4 out of 5 in life at this point. I would say.
Yes.
One would hope.
Yeah.
We'll ask, were you ever a one-trait Damar? The green one, who's just Cardassian.
Yeah. I was shocked today when we were trying to help a fleet member where Saran is not a Serenite.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we had this conversation on the show
I know.
where I was asking, "Is Jesus a Christian?" And I'm like,
Yes. And I brought
Yeah.
up that conversation, and then it's like, okay, we were talking about pole stars.
Yeah, I feel like he should be a Cyrenite. It does make sense. Apologies, I was just
Now
thinking
you
of my
talk.
chair for a bit there. Now
Getting-
you talk.
So, go on, Damar. Since you're our guest of honor this week, what is your top Trek series? Where do you stand in the sort of the order of things? I've got a feeling you might be a DS9 top fan, but
It's DS9.
Where would you
yes.
get that
Which-
idea?
yeah, funny.
Which
Come
is
on, comes
so-
to me.
I'm surprised when Next Generation ended. I would have said it was Worf and Data's the favorite characters, and then it turned out it's actually Jadzia now.
Interesting.
So
Well, no wonder you get along with Godzilla. Yeah, that was
Yes.
that's the name.
Yes.
yeah.
There has been a chronic shortage of Daxes in the game lately, haven't there? There's-
When was the last time we had one? It was like
Jadzia
what, like 9 or
specifically.
3 years ago?
With Jadzia, it's even longer. Like, longer than I've been playing. That's how last time we had a Jadzia.
Clearly, 2022 must be the year of every week is a Jadzia.
Well, we
I mean, what's
failed
the most
for the first
recent
day.
one? Is it Alternate
Huh?
Future?
Yeah.
Jadzia is the
Like
most recent.
2019, I think.
That's way long. That's like 2 years. Like Christ.
That's been a minute.
But she still gets events. Anyway, we're chill now. So yeah, so go on. Apart from DS9, where do you rank? Are you still sort of a classic?
Don't tell me I chilled out, motherfucker.
Yes, you will plan. No, I want to talk about your favorite Trek series.
Don't wait for the translation. Answer me now.
Well,
Go on.
I had seen all the originals, those old sciences, on repeats when the first movie came out.
Nice.
I only remember it snowing outside the theater. I don't remember being inside the theater. But my dad tells me that you could hear all the audience members whispering Klingons when the movie starts. So it was like, okay, so.
And then
that
everyone
was
left the theater with their favorite scene about the belay that phaser order, and everyone was very
Yes.
hyped about it.
So that one I used to listen to the music all the time because I thought the soundtrack was real good. And then for me,
Oh, resubscription. Thank you, Cranky, for resubscribing.
Frankie!
Thank you for the heart attack.
I know Walt thought that Star Trek was a TV, or he mentioned it previously, like he thought of it more as a TV show than the movies. but I was watching the movies as they came out before Next Generation.
Wow.
So to me, they're movies with TV add-ons.
Oh wow. Okay, that's interesting.
So
That's a unique
Because
perspective. I'd have to think.
So your first experience was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I can't imagine
yes,
any finer way to be
Yes.
introduced to the series.
Yeah, you can get from there.
and then
Zing.
when I was 9 when Star Wars came out. So by the time we got to Wrath of Khan, I've mentioned it before. Anytime we would get in video games, if you got to a level you couldn't beat, you were in the Kobayashi Maru scenario for that level. And then by the time high school ended, that was Voyage Home.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, now that
And
you
then-
mentioned that, my first Trek memory is watching Star Trek 3 on VHS at home. And I only remember it just because I remember the bit at the beginning where it shows the recap from Wrath of Khan, and it's in kind of black and white, and
Yes.
Oh yeah, it does the zoom in, yeah.
It was
yeah,
only-
and
It's
I
in
remember that.
Hebrew, and there's camels going across the screen.
The audience is laughing. for
Trouble
some
But-
reason.
Easton, he's not in Star Trek.
Me being me, the reason that I remember that is because my mom made nachos before we started the movie, so I remembered loving the nachos, and then also that ties into Star Trek.
Positive association. That's why they
yeah,
give you popcorn at the
so-
cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember,
So
like,
yeah, that's the first clear Trek memory that I have.
talking of VHS copies, I remember back in, I think it was like 2000, like I remember getting a pirated copy of X-Men on VHS. And it came in, I was like, oh, we got X-Men. I was like, brilliant, I'm going to watch this. I've not seen this film, this looks exciting. But it had been recorded on a camcorder in China. So there was Chinese subtitles along the bottom. Not only that, anytime they laughed at the most weirdest things. So when the scene where the truck stops suddenly and Wolverine smashes through the windshield, lands on the snow, they all started laughing. It was like a comedy bit. Like it's just there was like a laugh track along the whole thing at inappropriate moments. It's like, this is very confusing. I'm not sure I like this film.
Well, I'd forgotten till now, but Wrath of Khan was one of the first video cassettes that we owned. I think my dad bought it for $80 at the time.
Whoa, yeah.
They were crazy prices.
Yeah, if you think now you can get a Blu-ray for a tenner, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's been us.
Well, I thought owning all of the first run TNG DVDs was outrageous because those
I had
were
some of those,
$100
yeah.
a pop back in the day.
Are you talking about the silver case ones?
I had some of those, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude, those are
I had
100
those.
season. Yeah.
I had in the UK. They
Yeah,
did
I
a
had the
limited
first season,
edition-
and that was the only one.
Yeah, they had the limited edition DS9 in the black box. They were like black boxes, but they were like they were like really well constructed with like engraved stuff at the bottom. They had all I had all 7 seasons, and I had to hunt down season 6, and I had to hunt that down for like £80. It was like I had them all at one point, but each one came with a DVD that was like a little miniature Deep Space Nine technical manual. I think I've still got them somewhere. I think they're at my dad's place, but I had them all. I bought the whole collection and went, great, now I'm just going to play them on my computer because I've ripped them all and never watched the DVDs.
Now, that's the most on-brand thing I think you've ever said, by the way. Like that little chunk of text right there.
You did the
Incidentally, if
Patrick
anyone
Stewart. I've seen them all. I've seen
is,
everything.
in case anyone is curious, the only mention of nachos in Star Trek is in Lower Decks.
Oh, yes, but really? Not in Enterprise?
The only
thought
mention.
Enterprise
Nope,
might have it.
only one.
Wow. Did you just check Memory
Yeah,
Alpha for that?
apparently. I did indeed.
Memory Alpha's so weird because they have the most obscure topics, like tricycle has an entry. In case for some reason you're a Star
Christmas.
Trek fan and you don't know what a tricycle is. It's really bizarre.
Or if you run a semi-successful Star Trek timeline stream and you need to check every instance of
I'm
Christmas.
pretty sure they
You know.
describe water in detail. Memory Alpha and water. Let me look it up. There we go. Yes, water is a chemical substance often found in liquid state at temperatures between. This is from Memory Alpha. Like we know what water is.
I mean,
Did you know
that's-
Carnitas has its own little stub page as well?
as long as people
It's like
are
no,
willing
we
to
know
do it,
we
it's-
know what We know what Pac-Leds are, but we don't know what water is. That's why we're in Memory Alpha.
No, it's cool to be able to look up all the instances in Trek. Otherwise, like, are you going to troll through 1,000 episodes of scripts?
But
No,
literally, this has an entry of Neelix taking a bath in water from Caretaker and a picture of Neelix in the bath drinking water. I think this is excessive. Just ever so slightly.
Does it link to the Naked Time?
Oh, I don't know. Let me find out.
Polywater, yeah, that's a point.
Yeah.
Technically speaking,
yeah.
shouldn't it link to every single Star Trek episode, considering the fact that it's always ugly bags of mostly water?
Yep, it does have a link to Polywater.
There's a page for Oxygen, and it's like appearances 4,391. Expand all.
See also water.
Then someone checks all the appearances and is like, wait a minute, there's one episode where it isn't, and then it's one that takes place entirely in 0G. It's like,
Anyway, this week on Memory Alpha Chat.
yeah, no, for real.
So,
Yeah, we
okay.
shouldn't stay on this topic or we'll attract WRG employees. Like ants on a Snickers bar.
So okay. Let me tell you about. So my first Trek experience actually was an argument because I remember my dad when I used to go see him every other weekend, and he said he was watching Star Trek. He had a friend who taped them off and gave him the tapes, and we were watching sort of like the original series and the Next Generation. I think I was about 5 at the time. And I remember watching them on his telly and having an argument about which one was the older series. And I said, no, Picard, The Next Generation, that's the older series because he is older. Whereas Kirk is younger, so that's the newer series. And my dad was just like, you're just wrong. You're not right, you're wrong. I can see where you're logic is.
Play impeccable logic. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's it.
So I just wanted noted that your first Trek memory is about being wrong about Star Trek, and very little has changed in the intervening years.
Oh, love you guys. What are we doing? Anyway, Damar, how do you fancy starting a substream? With some other people? You haven't been horrible to me yet. Okay, I think Auto, Auto and Stars, you're the only people who haven't given us your first Trek memories.
I'm actually curious to hear Auto's, because I obviously know mine, but I don't think I've heard Auto talk about this.
All right, so I have 3 memories. One's not Trek related, but when I was really young, we went to I was born in Iowa, just like good old Kirk. And Iowa is very flat.
A movie.
It's very flat, so if the wind starts
from
picking up,
space?
like it. All right, shut up. I got 3 memories to get through. When the wind starts picking up, it'll knock over tractor trailers from the highway, act like a big windsock, kind of like me. So we went to the movie theater, and I was real young. I must have been 4 or 5. And the wind was whipping so hard, it literally lifted me off the ground. And I started to float away. My dad had to turn around and grab me out of the air and pull me back down. And we walked into, I don't know what the movie was. I just remember thinking, it's like the beginning of Wizard of Oz or something. I was getting whisked away. All right, so I have 2 memories. One at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And they were playing not Best of Both Worlds, All Good Things. And I was riveted, but we had to leave, and I'm like, can't we just stay till the end of the episode? And we couldn't, so that was
Now I
terrible.
want to watch the next one.
And now and to this day, you never found out what happens at the end of that
I don't know,
episode.
something about a static warp shell.
Time is living.
Yeah, and then
Poker game.
at where Dad grew up in Wisconsin, on his side of the family, uncles used to watch Star Trek, so when we were visited, they just plopped me down in front of the TV, and I would absorb Trek at an early age.
Just absorbing it, just like taking it into yourself and making
Did
it part of
that
you.
exceed your expectations, Stars? Did that knock your socks off?
I was more interested in the
Sounded like
Willing
this-
story, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sound like it was going to knock your socks off.
I'll blow them off.
Just saying.
Certainly.
Yeah.
All right, Stars, your turn.
All right. I
Chat, if
forget
you
what
guys
order
are
it
awake,
goes
you can
into.
chime in with your early Trek
Oh,
memories.
they're all asleep. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I know for a fact that it was my dad that got me into it because he was a massive nerd about it. Like he bought all of the Star Trek Fat Files. That's why I have my binder down there. I took that off him. We had the first season of TNG on DVD, and only the first season, which is why it's arguably the one I know the best, which is a shame.
Wow. That's a choice.
And we had
Big Lutan fan, huh?
It was literally a case of he bought the first season, and then he was too cheap to buy the other ones. So
you shall have
I
no
mean, they're
vaccine
expensive
and no
back
seasons
then.
2 to 7 of TNG.
And I also remember he had a copy of Wrath of Khan and First Contact.
Nice.
First Contact, I remember watching the most. That's one I probably remember having the most like vivid memories when I was a kid. Because obviously, when you're a kid, that vibes with you the most. You want to see like cool zombies get shot by cool guys with big guns. You want to see that. But the big one I remember is getting a copy of the Star Trek Encyclopedia by the Yakudas for Christmas, and especially the reference charts where it would show you all the various different ships in relative size. I remember looking at that for ages and ages and obsessing over comm badge details and rank insignia, and just like, because I couldn't watch a lot of the episodes because half of them weren't being shown on TV and we didn't have the DVDs. The other one, it was like, oh look, there's a tiny little stub that has like a 2-line synopsis of what happened in this episode, and most of the time it was wrong or very misleading. And that was how I learned, and that's how I've gathered my encyclopedic knowledge that has earned me a spot on this show.
Those size charts are always so funny because they would pull like Star Wars ships and Battlestar ships. I'm like, what? Those are obviously still fake and made up. Just bring in the Star Trek ships. Those are the real ones. Like those are more realistic. Those make sense with the sizes, but. Like you'd see a Star Destroyer that's like the entire size of Starfleet's entire operation. It's like, come on, that's fake.
So I actually have, and I've shown this off before.
That one's real.
I actually have, and I've shown this off before, but I do have the Star Trek. The Star Trek chronology. This is the history of the future.
Oh, wow.
This is my first official Star Trek thing. Look, I've even put a little sticker inside with my name on it. It's fantastic. But this shows how dated it is. It's in depth. You know, every episode it only goes up to season 6 of the Next Generation. That's as far as it goes. This was not produced until there we go. Year 4. Hang on, where are we go?
We're getting stuff now.
Might be.
That is.
Hang on.
That's an antique.
The far future. There we go. Yeah, the last entry is Data's head. There you go. That's the last entry times arrow. Fantastic.
That's literally the book equivalent of the da da da.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Da. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's your book equivalent of that cliffhanger.
All right.
That's brilliant.
What?
I love times arrow.
Since
That's a great
we're-
episode.
Since we're pulling out books here,
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I have this thing here that I got at my local grocery store when it was new.
30 years.
A grocery store which no longer exists.
Wow, I think I remember that.
But I called this, and for years I called it my nerd manual because it also has an episode guide. Also incomplete. It only has the first season of Voyager.
Oh, wow.
And it only goes to, I want to say, season 4 of DS9. And what's fun about this is it also has the little 2-sentence blurbs about each episode that are wildly inaccurate. But it would also have, I don't know if you can make it out, a little comm badge next to the episode title.
Yeah.
And what
Fuck
that
you.
means, that is an editor's pick or whatever for
right.
So
The
there are
essentials.
50, yes, and so there are 50 episodes of TNG. I want to say 25 of TOS, and then maybe like 15 Deep Space Nine and 5 Voyager. But some of the choices that they made on episodes are
Please tell me Code of Ours there.
outrageous.
Okay.
No, but you know what is?
Sub Rosa.
One, Sub effing Rosa. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There it is.
And
Hey, you'll never forget it.
So I was
Yeah,
reading
it's
a
true.
story about Sub Rosa today, in fact. The fact that the director or the writer, and I don't know which one it was, had pretty much wanted to angle after having a Scottish or Victorian piece in their stories for ages.
the director was Frakes, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe not the director then, must be the writer.
I don't
But this-
think they admitted, whoever directed it
Jerry
would not
Taylor.
admit that they did
Jerry
it.
Taylor,
So-
yeah. It might,
Oh, okay.
But this is also transcended into Janeway's holo programs as well, so they're kind of related to having the same sort of production team went on to go and do that.
So
Okay,
Cranky,
it was directed by Jonathan Frakes, story by Jerry Taylor, who I believe was one of the big Voyager writers who ended up creating the Lucille Davenport shit. So yeah, that's on brand.
so Cranky in chat says his older brother's named Kirk and his name is Scott. Were your parents big Trek fans, or is that just a coincidence? All right, let's cycle to
here's my other brother, Galen.
Yeah. and my sister Uhura.
My uncle M5. All right, let's cycle over to movies. Rev Damar, start us off. What's your favorite movie? And then the rest of us can give everyone grief for it as we go around the circle.
Favorite is probably First Contact.
Good choice.
Okay.
Interesting.
They're in the past within the first 30 minutes of the movie. It goes fast.
It's incredibly well paced. It gets it all out in very quick order.
I have never been more hyped in my life before I had seen the teaser for First Contact. Before we knew anything about it, you saw the first teaser on television, and it's just the Borg drones' lasers coming out of the fog, and they say the new Star Trek movie, and it's just the Borg drones' lasers coming out of the fog. I remember watching that and just going, just getting really excited, and I was so hyped about that.
Yeah, but that was the last Star Trek movie I saw in the theater because they came out with Insurrection next, and then they came out with Nemesis next. And it was like, well, you're at the peak and now you're going down.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love for Insurrection. I think it's a very underappreciated Star Trek film.
It's a really fun Sunday after. Like, if I were not doing this with you guys, I would probably be watching it now and just being like, yes, all right. I have noticed that my boobs are starting to firm up. Thank you.
It's the most like the series is. It feels the most like just an extended TNG episode.
Well, water landing. I can be used as a flotation device.
I'll pay $8.50 or whatever ticket prices were to go have Picard lecture me on what's right and wrong. Like him talking to Admiral Dougherty in his
speech. How many people does it take before
petroleum turned a bunch of thugs into world leaders and like, settle in, this is going to be a good speech.
And then he gets the guns out, so he's swinging across the catwalks.
I mean that's drumhead measure of a man Picard right there.
Yeah. How many people, Admiral, does it take before it becomes wrong? I'm like, it's a good movie.
Yeah, say it more, Daddy.
Now phaser Dougherty right in the chest and let's get on with it.
And then find the power to keep me in this moment, and you're like, oh, this is a bit lame, actually.
I'm sorry, do you have a Picard quotation kink? Do you have a morality kink? Is this your thing?
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't, but my boyfriend does.
Oh, okay.
Because we were watching... It was halfway through season 5. And we had gotten to the habit of doing 2 or 3 episodes. We were about halfway through season 5, and it was Face of the Enemy, and then I think it was... oh, God, what was it? Tapestry. And he started drinking heavily at the end of Face of the Enemy. Not because of, he wasn't enjoying it. He actually really enjoyed it. But just because it was, a nice, quiet evening. And he was like, you know what? I want to have a bit of a drink. And then by the time Tapestry was over, he was just going on and on about philosophy, the Borg, and then about how he had the hots for Picard. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I get for making him binge watch Star Trek with me. I can't really complain about it.
So he fell for you because of the British accent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually. I can't even deny that one. That is partly a factor. Anyway, sorry. We interrupted Damar talking about their favorite.
Can you do a fake French accent?
For scientific purposes. Yeah. We're not going to clip this.
Do the Picard French accent.
Oh, well, that's just a British accent. Oh, God, no, I'm not doing that one. That's offensive.
Sinister. Actually, I think it's a trigger
Can you sing Febon covered in mud?
No, the boom, boom, boom.
I think I do have that as a trigger somewhere. Hang on. This one, here we go.
I got
appropriately sinister.
There you go.
God.
So bad.
I can sing the laughing Vulcan and his dog.
I love the through line of all Star Trek series that Picard is just a bad actor. He is not good at it. Like, that's not the only time it comes up. I can't remember where else, but there's another moment. It's just
Oh
like,
yeah, when the Ferengi have Loxana.
oh, that's right. Yeah,
I'm not.
Oh yeah.
Even Oksana, that's like that. Yeah, it's hilarious.
he's notorious just terrible at acting, but really throws himself into it.
He does it with in the Guinan episode.
The Dixon Hill stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No. When he goes into the past, the old lady.
Yeah.
Mr. Pickard.
And what was it? She quotes really terribly the Midsummer Night's Dream, and they all start clapping.
He's like,
So,
Dude, that's a whole vanity waiting to happen.
yes,
and then Troy has to like adjust Geordie's book because he's holding it upside down.
There's a side gag. What are you groaning for? That's a hilarious double meaning.
Yeah.
You do know he's not actually blind, right? LeVar Burton can see. Like, I'm not picking on anyone here. It's a fake character.
No, it's just not.
The last
All right.
40 years have been a lie.
We'll go around the circle, and I'm next. It's a tie between Wrath of Khan and Insurrection. Probably Wrath of Khan for me.
Interesting.
Because Ricardo Montalban is like, come on. He is a boss. Anyone across from him has to elevate their game or get out of the scene. I do like the whole... It's... everything doesn't happen at warp speed. I love that they're both ships are crippled. They have to... Like the little graphic with the do-do-do-do, and they're going around the moon or the asteroid in like slow motion. And then once they get into they chase them into the nebula and they're floating like opposite each other. There's a very like
it's submarine fight.
It's submarine
So
in
awesome.
space. Yeah, but there's a little more weight than just like, all right, we're going to warp there in half a second and then blow them out of the sky. So
Hunt for Red Spocktober.
That's a good one. I like that.
all right, Big.
Oh, me. Well, I mean, my answer is Wrath of Khan too. That's not particularly interesting now that
They did a second one?
Yeah, like a Boogaloo.
Yes, Wrath of Khan 2, the Rathanen.
No, that's Into Darkness. I'm sorry to say.
Yes.
Well, I mean, in a way, I mean, Search for Spock is kind of Wrath of Khan 2. It's
it is.
just the continuation of the story. I mean, Search for Spock did... it's more memorable in my childhood, just in that, it's the first thing I ever saw. But, I mean, Wrath of Khan is just, you can start anywhere in that movie and you're locked in the rest of the movie. It's so quick. I mean, everything, it just goes from spot to spot to spot, and it's so watchable. And for a movie from 1982 with the effects being what they were and things like that, it's so watchable. And I'm sorry, Idol, in comparison to the motionless picture, it is just night and day difference. We'll get there in
I do have to say, the part in Wrath of Khan where they have a 5-digit PIN code that can override the entire ship is hilarious. So Kirk, he lowers his glasses and they punch in this 5-digit code, and all of a sudden the Defiant's dead in the water. I'm like, well, that was easy.
It's hilarious because Spock is at his little console like beep, boop, beep.
And it is an idea that it's an idea that they use there and only there and never again in the other thousands of times in all the other series.
No, I think they do.
One more time.
Yeah.
In the Wounded,
Which one?
I believe.
No,
Oh, yeah,
unnatural
that's right.
selection.
The minstrel
as well.
to the war is gone.
Yeah, because they give the Cardassians the Phoenix's prefix codes to lower its shields initially in the beginning of the Wounded.
What about the suffix codes? I feel like those should be equally important.
Suffix is
This was only half the story, so...
Unnatural selection. I forget the context for that one. What was the prefix code bit in that?
They had genetically modified children that caused a virus by attacking them. So the people were getting old.
Oh, yeah. The old.
Theoretically, that's legal because they're augments and they shouldn't have been doing it in the first place.
Yeah, that
genetic
was
engineering.
a bad area of canon right there, where it's like we haven't thought about this.
Yeah.
That's a weird episode.
All because we want Bashir to be a weirdo.
All right, Stars, you're up next.
Oh, well, are we gonna skip Idol and not give him a chance to talk about slow motion picture?
We're going in.
Okay, no, that's
we're
fine,
going
because
in,
it gives me more time.
clockwise.
Yeah, he's giving him the hammer.
Give him time to have porn shots of the Enterprise. I'm gonna be really basic and boring and say Wrath of Khan as well. It's just an immaculate pre-produced movie with incredible morals about revenge and age, and it's just probably the best performance Shatner's ever done. I can't think of one that's better.
Well, again, that's because of who he's opposite, in my opinion.
Even though they're never in the same room at the same time. Like,
Right.
they don't,
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well,
'cause
and-
I think,
And because of the
Montalban
circumstances of that,
physically
that's why the performances work so well. Is because it's like Montalban is like one take, two takes, done. And Nicholas Meyer talks about how he had to just have Shatner go over and over and over and over to get the Shatnerness out of him before he would actually start doing something that was acceptable. And so because they could play those off of each other, that's why it works so well.
So Stars and I went back and watched Space Seed a couple months back because he had not seen it, but
wow.
he's seen Wrath of Khan several times, and it's actually because I know TOS can be kind of cringy if you didn't grow up with it, but if anyone out there liked Wrath of Khan, go back and watch Space Seed because it does, pardon the pun, it plants the seeds for the movie quite well, and Montalban is great in that too, and the scene where they're in the wardroom or whatever, and they're having a meal, and Kirk sits back with this shit-eating grin on his face, and Spock is like, he's probing Khan, and Khan, he sees it coming a mile away, and he says to Kirk, he goes, excellent strategy. Let your first officer pick me apart while you look for weaknesses, and it's like the chess game is there's putting the pieces on the board before the movie gets started. So.
Anyway, before we talk about that, anything else?
What about
Anything else?
About Wrath of Khan?
Yes. Before we have to talk about
Does
the
anybody
slow motion
want?
picture.
I do find it ironic that.
Well, I was just going to say, does anybody want to? Does anyone want to stump for Voyage Home or the usual suspects, Undiscovered Country?
I think like Voyage Home it surprised me recently because I hadn't watched it for years and years, and I went through a run of just watching all the Star Trek films in order, and I watched Voyage Home for the first time in something like about 15 odd years, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, and actually kind of went up a lot of on the list, kind of going, yeah, this is a solid film all round, not just a Star Trek film. This is like a good family film that everyone can watch, and I really enjoyed Voyage Home a lot more than I thought I would.
It would be the one that I would start people on if they knew nothing about Trek. That's where I would start them. Just because
I would start
it's so
them with
accessible.
the TOS episode Miri, where all the kids run around Shatner and chant at him.
Grumps!
The Grumps. The Grumps.
Yeah, Grups.
That's what I would start with.
No. You go all the way. You start him with Cat's Paw, man.
Oh.
Like
I thought you were going to say with Cats the musical. I'm like, well, okay.
Yes,
one?
no, start him with the butthole cut of the Cats movie.
My favorite episode is the Magical Mr. Mistopheles, I think. All right, two things. I find it ironic that I think Trek started partnering with Industrial Light and Magic, starting with Wrath of Khan, but everyone thinks motion picture because it's like one big tech demo, essentially. So, and I also, honorable mention for Final Frontier, which Stars and I watched semi-recently. And through the first, hear me out. Through the first 90% of the movie, I was dying of laughter. I'm like, this is a great movie. I mean, aside from the fact that, a motivational speaker can just come on and take over the ship. Outside of that, it was pretty damn hilarious. And then the last, 10, 15 minutes, I was like, all right, this actually sucks now I know why. Now I know I never want to rewatch it. But dude, I was dying of laughter the first hour or 20 or whatever. It's worth a rewatch. Maybe you can turn it off early too.
Oh, I
Okay.
think the riff tracks going along with Star Trek V is fantastic.
Oh, I haven't
And
watched that.
it's-
I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah, do that. It's awesome.
No, okay.
Too many
Can't mention,
marshmallows.
have an honorable.
Please.
You broke the bloody ship.
Wait,
Galaxy
from
Quest.
Galaxy Quest?
Yeah, that's yes, because it's
no,
the,
it's
he's
a-
on the
that
rock
is-
planet.
That is Star Trek.
Can you form some kind of rudimentary lathe?
Guy, get off the car!
And turn
Dude, I
inside
tell you
out
what.
and it exploded?
Dude, if we wanted to get together for an episode rewatch on the weekend or whatever, we could do Galaxy Quest. That would be top quality.
I think my favorite
Yeah.
joke in all of it is the Tawny Madison bit where they go through the stomping, crushing bit, and then they
Yes.
just run past the flamethrower. She's like, whoever wrote this episode should die.
The engineer has
I
sex
like-
with an alien.
Yeah.
And then they cut back to like the original footage, which is reproduced with like terrible TV budget, and then you see the chompers and
Yes.
stuff, and it's like, all right, this is real Trek.
Okay.
That's
All right,
good shit.
Item, the
Can I
floor is
do my
yours now.
soliloquy
We
now?
put it off.
Can
We've been
can I
waiting.
Put it
put
off
it
as
right?
long as we could.
Okay, so I'm not going to deny.
Is there air? You don't know. With Guy, he holds his breath before they get down to the planet.
And then Tony Shalhoub is like, you look at me.
All right, dude, we got to rewatch this real soon.
So I will agree. I will agree that the motion picture has flaws. Of course it does. I mean, the first officer, Decker, is been come out as a sex offender, and that's the big blight on it for me, which is just terrible. That's the one thing. And yes, it has pacing issues, unless you watch the director's cut, which is fantastic. But I will always argue. I will always argue that the motion picture is the pure distillation of perfect Trek, because they get on the ship, they face an unknown threat, which isn't really
There's no
a
bad
threat.
guy.
There is no threat. It is not a villain as per se. It is literally exploring the unknown, a new form of life that has developed through human contact, and it evolves in ways that we can't understand. And yeah, okay, it comes through how many performances, and the uniforms are very much pajamas. But it has a feel to it that I really like. Like, there is a kind of a pacing and a kind of, you know, it's 1979, so these are pioneering days of like early science fiction films like Alien and things like that sort of went for style over sort of more substance. But this kind of, it marries the two. And yes, okay, there are a lot of drawn out shots, but the shots where the Enterprise is flying through Vija, and especially in the director's cut, are stunning. Like, and I'm really excited for the 4K remaster that's coming out, because they're going back to those scenes and sort of remastering them, and it is such a visual experience, akin to Space Odyssey. You know, 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was very much the influence at the time. You know, them flying into Vija
Really
and
what they were
exploring
going
things that they, you know,
That
when-
was the style at the time.
Exactly, but the scenes where Spock is going into Vija, when he goes through the giant anus, and he goes in there and he basically experiences things that he can barely understand, and like, you know, there's the huge sort of like head of Ilea there, and yeah, there's the comedic moments, and there's also the exploration of Ilea, which is sort of the precursor to Data in a way, of like an android coming along and exploring humanity for what it is. And there's a lot to the motion picture I really like, but there's, you know, obviously, yes, there are pacing issues, and there are costuming issues, and, you know, the problems we have with the actor that played Decker, but I still vow it as being the most pure Star Trek film there is in the motion picture. My time is
See,
up.
I think it's it's more essence of sci-fi than it is essence of Trek. Because at least up to that point, through 3 seasons of TOS, you got to have morality, and more often than not, you got to have a bad guy. So it's kind of a departure from TOS, but yeah, you're right. It's pure in a way, but I think it's more pure sci-fi than it is pure Trek.
True.
It is more of a sort of bridge between TOS and TNG in terms of sort of like theming and tone.
when they were talking about, you know, Phase 2 and talking about doing a new Star Trek series, and Phase 2 eventually turned into the motion picture, they used a lot of you know, the scripts for the early TNG and, you know, things like that. So I'm just saying there's some Twitch issues. I think everything's fine on my end. It's all green here. So sorry guys if you missed my... Why is it I give an epic soliloquy on the motion picture? Twitch is like, no, fuck you. But yeah, no.
It knows.
Yeah, a lot of Phase 2 stuff.
I have no interruptions here.
Yeah. I had a lot of I had a book that was detailing a lot of the Phase 2 scripts. I don't know whatever happened to that. I think I must have dumped it at some point, which is a shame. But a lot of those scripts went on to early seasons 1 and 2 of TNG, and there were some other episodes, and it looked interesting. Like the Vulcan,
noted high watermark of quality.
The Vulcan that appears that gets mauled by Rand in the transporter. He was supposed to be the Spock replacement. When Nimoy wasn't going to come on. And I think that would have been exciting. So
no, that's the guy who's in charge of the
station.
He asks where it's heading to, and he says they say Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. Sorry, I was wrong there. No, you're right. He also appeared in TNG, didn't he, in the early seasons, as well as the episode where that after Yar died, but actually she's in it. I forget what the name of it was. Symbiosis.
No, that's No, that's David Marcus and Yakum from Wrath of Khan.
Oh, bloody hell, fake fan right all along. Yes, you're right. That is David Marcus.
I will say, like, for all the shit and guff I'll give the motion picture, the one scene I do really like about it, and it's I feel like it does very much drill at the heart of Trek, especially of TOS, is the one bit after Spock has been recovered from his EV suit theft, and he's talking about with Vija with Kirk, and then he just grabs his hand and holds it, and he's like, this simple feeling is something that Vija can't understand. Yeah. And that's part of the reason, that's what it's searching for, is that answer, that feeling of connection. Yeah.
There's class.
And that is the essence, not just of Trek, but of like the relationship between Kirk and Spock, where they're comfortable enough to do that. And it's brilliantly acted by both of them. Like, that scene is the kind of thing where I'd be like, if I want to distill, especially like classic Trek, into one scene, I would show you that, and then you get it. It's like, okay, that's what it's about. It's about that human experience.
Definitely.
If the one character in the movie, Kirk would have tried to sex up Ilea, and her illogic would have overwhelmed her and then exploded, and that would have been like the end of the episode.
My oath of celibacy is on record, Captain. No, the one character that comes through pretty unscathed, and that storyline translates, is Spock's story.
Yeah,
Spock comes out great in this movie, but I do want to, we need to take a second. You spent all this time defending how great it is, and you used the phrase like, despite the giant anus. I believe that was in.
Sorry,
you said that.
I'll reiterate and say sphincter. Sphincter. It's more kind of.
Yeah. So. How great can a movie be? If that is significant proportion.
Are you showing yourself up to be more of a leg man? Like, well, what is this conversation? Not into that kind of thing? No. That's fine.
No, I mean, it's like I own. I'm trying to sell, actually, because I'm just trying to downsize a bunch of the physical media that I have burying me in the house. But the director's cut. And it does make a pretty significant difference. It's still what's out there so far. I mean, maybe the 4K one will improve on that. I assume it will.
I've seen a lot of pre-production shots, and they look like they're going back to the originals and like really sort of boosting up and looking at some of like the 90s remasters and saying, well, they did this wrong, and getting the color balance right. It looks stunning. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so I mean, it does make it more watchable. It makes it more sensical. It makes the plot through lines make more sense. But still, I mean, the pacing is just lethargic for
I can
almost
appreciate
all
that.
of it.
I can appreciate that.
And it just the interplay between the characters is not there. It's like for the most part, the characterization of the characters is just not what we remember. It's like it doesn't feel like Kirk. It doesn't feel like. I mean, McCoy comes through because he only gets to say a few things and is requisitely gruff and McCoy-like about it. But it just, I don't know. It doesn't. Apart from Spock, it doesn't feel like Trek.
I think part of the problem is that you don't get scenes of people just talking about random shit. Yeah, which is some of my favorite scenes in Star Trek, where it's just, let's go to Riker's quarters and he's going to cook some alien eggs and they're going to be fucking terrible.
Can I just
Or
backtrack a minute to the Final Frontier
or
discussion?
let's watch Quark and Garrett talk about the Federation. Like these
Well,
are
that's the benefit
you
of
know.
having 25 episodes in the season.
Well,
You
yeah.
can get a lot more of that.
True, but even like Wrath of Khan fits in a conversation about like, or even just a few lines where like McCoy and Kirk are like, did Savick change her hair? I didn't notice. Good stuff, that Romulan ale. Like just little bits of character moments. They really do add to the flavor of the film.
Can I backtrack to
Yeah,
the
they're
Final
just
Frontier
their
moment?
heads.
Sorry.
Well, it's like their heads on sticks, talking about moving the plot forward. They're not really characters.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to say a third time.
Final
I'm going to say a
Frontier
third time.
item.
Can I backtrack to the Final Frontier? Right.
How about the Final Frontier? Yeah.
And no, the one thing I noticed on my rewatch of the Final Frontier is where the fuck did the Uhura and Scotty romance come from? Because they're blatantly like.
Where did it come from, and then where did it go? And this is not a Cotton Eye Joe joke. Like it popped up for
It is
briefly
now.
and then,
Too late.
and then disappeared.
It did happen a long time ago.
Yeah, and it was just all of a sudden it's just like, oh, we've got a thing
It's
going on.
the Worf
like,
and
okay.
Deanna of TOS.
Kind of, yeah. And then it's never mentioned
Worf and
again.
Deanna set up way more than Scotty and Uhura. Like that's. No, you know what? That's the Chakotay and Seven of like that's more appropriate.
No, that got more episodes, more screen time than all the rest
I had an
combined.
episode, yeah. The whole episode.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I have lost control of the
right.
stream. Thank you.
As long as we're bashing
had
motion
control?
picture, here's one tiny little thing that I don't like about it. The TMP Klingon music is like top 3 all-time track for me, and they bring it in, and the 3 what are they D7s, K7s, whatever. The D7s they're floating in, and they're appropriately bad guys, because they weren't treated completely as jokes in TOS, and then they did build them up in the later movies as all right, these are the serious bad guys. So they bring them in. They have this banger theme. And then it's just they're the red shirts of the movie. They vaporize them, and then they're just gone. And it's like, well, hold on a second. I was just getting into it. Like, build up a little bit of the threat there or something.
The miniature, or the scale model they used for the D7 was absolutely fantastic. Like, so, I remember watching that, and as it came on the screen, I remember seeing the ones in TOS.
Scene where they had no relevance at all.
True, but like the detail on the ships was stunning. I remember looking at that, going, "Oh my gosh, that's like really good." Like you can see every little sort of mod nodule on the bulkhead is absolutely fantastic. I'm surprised.
And
I'm
then
surprised.
all they.
Go on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, I'm surprised no one has mentioned the Undiscovered Country yet, because I think that's easily number 2 for me.
It is
To me, that
exceptionally
doesn't-
classic. It's very iconic.
But to me, it's like I don't know. It doesn't feel like the parts of it that held up and that were my favorites have not. I feel like held up as well over time as. Well, for one, I mean it's a character assassination piece on Spock.
Oh, really?
And yeah, well, just the
Interesting.
the mind, the forcible mind meld,
Oh,
and
that's
things like that.
true,
It's like that's just not something that I would ever really see Spock doing.
Well, what does it say about Spock when the Vulcan he chose as his successor for the Enterprise, that he had hopes and dreams and followed her career, turns out to be a double agent? Like what that, Spock must have been falling asleep during that whole time then when he chose her. So
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there are still great moments. I mean, it has some great humor in it.
I mean,
which
the
is
classic
something that's
moment,
lacking.
Spock is advocating for, peace with the Klingons, and then, like, the meeting adjourns, and he's talking to Kirk afterwards, and you get the classic, the Kirk, let them die. I love that moment. Like, Spock's advocating, and Kirk's just, like, being the stick in the mud there, and sort of... It's the first kind of like real opposing viewpoint. You would have thought like, well, Kirk would be like, he'd be the guy that would be like, let's advocate peace and harmony throughout the universe, and be this moral standpoint. He's just like, no, they killed my son. I'm pissed about
He's
this.
like,
yeah, I kind of really like that.
Well, but the thing is that it was really of its time. I mean, it's a very clear Cold War allegory that the Berlin Wall had just fallen not that long ago, and it was just very much of that moment. And I just feel like the further we get away from it, it doesn't have that same impact that it did.
I don't
at the
know.
time.
I feel like some of the more topical stuff maybe doesn't translate as much, and it probably will hold up less and less as we get further away from the moment. But I do think that there are certainly like the elements of what Gorkon talks about, Like a lot of the conversations he has and things that he says, and his final plea to Kirk. Like I think that's relatively eternal, and the effect that has on Kirk, and that transformative effect it has on its character. I feel like that, as sort of like the emotional backbone of the movie, really like carries a lot of the weight. So I think that means it'll hold up all right. It's just a case of there are some definitely dated elements to it.
The whole sort of Chang subplot as well. I think that, having Christopher Plummer play a bad guy and him sort of really leading into it, the hammy side of things, and the whole trial scene is, obviously I've spoofed it. Like I kind of.
I just for the translation.
But the whole,
maybe you'll be able to get to do a version of it someday.
Yeah, maybe. But the whole, the whole sort of, you say like the Cold War aesthetic, but there is, there's allegories towards that today, and like there's always the message behind it is still apparent. But there's so many good action pieces. Having Sulu as commander of the Excelsior, and fly them apart, and then that final epic moment where you got the Enterprise and Sulu and the Excelsior actually beating the shit out of Chang's. That moment when they go fire is just such a real hype moment. It's a good all round film. Damar,
I feel like sorry.
I was going to say Damar, since
I feel like it's
dominated the conversation a bit. But come on.
Yeah,
I was going to say Undiscovered
go
Country
on forever. So
we will. So I'll make my point and then I'll point it out to Damar, because I'm actually kind of curious to hear what he thinks about this. I feel like Undiscovered Country is sort of trying to synthesize some of the socio-political commentary of 4 with 2's character depth and action, and it kind of meets halfway in the middle, but it doesn't reach the heights of either. I feel like it kind of does that.
Because I think personally, Undiscovered Country is as I say, it's my number 2, like for me. But opinions, but go on, Damar. What
do you think?
I want a special edition where they grab flashback scenes with Sulu and put it in the movie, so you see the extra stuff. So you see Kang in the movie again.
Yes.
That'd be cool. I'd actually really like that. So there's this fan project I really like, and it's Revenge of the Sith Definitive Edition.
Oh, yes.
And literally what it does is it takes every single scene from every affiliated canon Star Wars media that fits in that timeline of that movie, and then just inserts it. So you get every single perspective of Order 66. You get all the stuff that's happening on Mandalore at the same time, and it's just like a 6 or 7 hour movie by that point. But it is literally just the final days of the Galactic Republic all in one big long go. Doing that with flashback and like Undiscovered Country would be a really interesting watching experience. I think that'd be really cool.
I'm not a big fan of in-universe politics in Trek.
Oh, I love.
I feel like there's
there's
too many movies out there where you have, a dozen old white guys in uniform sitting around a long table discussing stuff. I don't need that in Trek. I didn't like really the scenes with the president there and the political sabotage elements. Like, it's fine, but and this is just my own thing. I prefer when Starfleet headquarters are the guys that send a message through Uhura to tell Kirk whether he should or shouldn't do anything. But ultimately, the captains, the ones that are out there experiencing things, they have to fly by the seat of their pants. I really like that romanticism aspect. When you get too much politics in it, it really drags it down for me.
I'm the opposite. Like I love the political stuff. I love like Homefront when they actually went back to in Deep Space Nine when they actually went back.
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, oh, I hate that one too.
No, but I love it. And they kind of get back to you actually meet the president and things like that. And there's a great book that I really like. It's called Articles of the Federation by Keith R. A. DiCandido, and it is it's non-canon absolutely, but it's basically the first year in this in Nan Bako, excuse me, Nan Bako, who is the president of the Federation just after Nemesis, I think, and it's like the whole year of her presidency, and it's a great read, and I like political thrillers. I like you love 24 Auto. I would have thought that would have been right up your alley.
Well, yeah, but that's a different. Like I like it in its own milieu. I'm just not a big fan of it juxtaposed with Trek, where we have the romanticism of you're out there being explorers and making policies, sort of.
If they could give us the West Wing but Star Trek, I would be all over that. That would be amazing.
Well, since you mentioned his name, have any of you guys read any of the articles on Tor.com from Keith DiCandido about his Trek rewatch?
No.
Oh man, that is you. I have just made 2 months of your life go away because you're going to go find this and just read all of these articles because he goes through all the series episode by episode. And well, of course, he's in the tank for all the Klingon episodes, especially in TNG. But you know, because that's his main thing. But those are fantastic reads, and I would recommend them to anybody who's
because he literally has a breakdown of like, you know, does Janeway mention coffee in this episode? You know, what does Tuvok do in this episode? Like little segments, and then there's usually a, you know, I, for example, wrote a book about following upon this particular scene or this particular character that got mentioned, and then just a opinion piece about the actual episode. And it's very interesting seeing sometimes very contrary opinions to your own, where you think, oh, this is a classic episode where everyone likes it, and then he's like, you know what, there's parts of this that don't really add up.
That's what surprised me with the
"That's a
Undiscovered
valid point."
Country talk just now. I thought everyone had been like, oh, wow, yeah, loved it. I'm actually interesting to hear some opposing points on that.
No, I mean, I do like it overall.
Yeah.
It's
a solid
so
like 8 out of
classically
10 for
good.
me. Yeah.
It's so classically good. There's not a ton of room for debate. Pretty much everyone says, yeah, it's good to great. So,
yeah.
Fair to Midland.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
it's
I
more
would put
fun
it like
talking about stuff like Final Frontier than it is
Well, true, yeah.
something that everyone already likes.
Where Scotty hits his head on the bulkhead.
Yeah, a little bit of slaps. I mean, there's that. There's marshmallows. There's Scotty blowing a hole through the, you know, the Great Escape through the jail. It's like it's so over the top. Yeah,
Make
like
love
they
to the
know
mountain.
what they're going for, and they just don't apologize for it.
Go
which
climb
I
a
like.
rock.
Yeah.
Go climb a rock.
He's wearing that t-shirt. Bob, I can't hear, Bob. Is that you, Jim?
But you know, I have to go back to a point that Auto made, which is that, you know, like sometimes Star Trek does lean a bit too hard into the politics, and it can be a bit stodgy and a bit boring. That being said, that is true, but without those scenes, you can't have the iconic scenes where the captain says, "Fuck you, I'm going to do what I want," aka the best part of Star Trek 3, which is the stealing of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
You know, if you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again. Warp speed.
I don't hate authority figures, but like, okay, for example, I love the Sisko Ross dynamic, where Ross is the de facto leader, or he's speaking for Starfleet, but you don't get all the bogged down of the sitting around the table having the, you know, should we interfere with them or not? It's like Ross is telling them, okay, this is what Starfleet is saying, and you can still be flippant and defiant, no pun intended, with that, and say, well, I don't care what Starfleet has to say, I'm going to do it anyway. And I just think, I don't know, it detracts from the pacing, where if you have a whole movie or show built around it, then it works. That's fine.
Yeah, because I mean that is kind of a principle of drama. Just, you know, it's telling, it's not showing. It's talking about what you're going to do instead of just doing it. So I can definitely.
Is that not the essence of politics?
Yeah,
The art of the impossible.
That is a conversation for another time. But yes, yeah. So I definitely get that point. It's like, why not have that filter through to where you're not hearing it, but you'll see the effects of it through the actions of the characters that you know and follow every week. So I mean,
where it's relayed through an admiral like Ross or Nechayev or Cornwell, where you get your orders handed down, and there's a character you interact with rather than a board.
Yeah.
All right, I want you guys to educate me, because I follow very little non-canon stuff. Like, I would read books as a kid or whatever, but I really don't pay attention to it. So we can go around the table, starting with Rev. Tell me one of your favorite non-canon characters, why you like them, and I don't know, maybe tie it back to timelines. What kind of card would they be if they ever added them?
I got to think about that.
All right, well,
come back. Let me think. Non-canon.
Someone else then, who might have a name on the tip of their tongue.
I have one on this. So obviously I mentioned Nan Bacco. She was a great president. But there's another character that appeared in when they kind of did the Deep Space Nine relaunch series. There was like a series of books, and they introduced a new character who then they sort of preceded in prequel books, like from there's what they call the Lost Era, which is between sort of when the films ended and to where TNG started. But they brought him in the Deep Space Nine relaunch as a new commander of the Defiant called Elias Vaughn, and he was sort of like a very much a Starfleet brass. His best mates were Curzon Dax and things like that. Like, he had a lot of history with Starfleet that they then expanded in books previously. He was a good character, and he had a lot of a complicated past. He had a daughter, and eventually they found their mother had been assimilated by the Borg and things like this. And when they went to re sort of go into the Gamma Quadrant, there was he was quite a cool character. But the problem with a lot of the Star Trek post-launch novels is, God, they went to shit fast. And thankfully, they've ended now with the Coda series, which I've just finished reading. And I won't spoil it for it, but it ends. If you hate what they did to Cisco,
it ends exactly the way it began.
Pretty much, yeah. They basically, you talk about
with
characters.
books, you could just skip one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some good standalone ones, like I mentioned, Articles of the Federation with Nan Bacco. She was a good president of sort of very kind of. If you've ever watched The Expanse and you know, oh Christ, what was her name? The president character in there, played by Shoresh.
Suresh. Yeah. She's amazing. Yeah.
It's basically the same character as that, but in a Star Trek setting. Just swearing and giving people shit the entire time, but in charge of the Federation. It was very good.
I've never read a single piece of non-canon Star Trek literature, so I have to recuse myself entirely.
Really?
There's a Klingon series as well by Keith R.D. Candido. He basically he takes the first officer from what's the episode where Riker goes over to the Klingon ship?
Kang?
No. Kang, or something like that. But there's basically 4 novels about him and his own ship. Karg, yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep making guttural noises with your throat. It'll come out. Yeah.
Go on, Damar.
Okay, so I remembered. Okay, I looked up some of the books. Captain Ezri Dax of the Aventine. From Rise of the Federation, you could have Section 31 Agent Trip Tucker, since he's still alive.
Yes. That you know what, that's a really good part of one of the novels. Is basically, I think it ends with it starts with Jake meeting up with Captain Nog, so it's a flash forward.
Yes.
And they basically turn around and kind of go, yeah, that was all a Section 31 cover up. This is what really happened to Trip.
Yes.
Back when there was no real Star Trek and all we had was the books.
One of my favorite things about the non-canon books is judging, being real judgmental about how accurate I think the writers are to the characters' voices. Because if you've seen all the episodes 1,000 times, you know, okay, would they do this? Would they not do this? So my favorite books are the ones where the writers really capture the essence of how I think the characters would sound and react. And sometimes you get a line that's like, all right, there's no way in hell they'd ever say that. And it puts me off the entire book at that point.
So this is why I really hate what they did with Cisco in the post-launch novels. It's so bad. And I'll spoil this one. Basically, he comes back from being in the Prophets, and he helps Elias Vaughn, and there's something to do with the conspiracy parasites as well, basically trying to take over the Bajoran government. It's a whole thing. He comes back, and he has a message for the Prophets. Again, the same prophet saying you shouldn't be married. And he gets really nervous about it. He divorces Cassidy Yates and their daughter. He then re-enlists in Starfleet, takes a command of a Galaxy-class starship, and then shaves his goatee off, and then goes and mopes about on the other end of the galaxy with a first officer that he just completely isolates himself from. And that's about it. And it's just... But the things you say is just like, no, this does not sound like Cisco at all. This is so far removed from him, it's dire. I hated it. I hated every minute of it.
I don't blame you. That sounds awful. So I am going to have to go on a sideways tangent. I can't say about literature because I honestly don't read that many Star Trek books. Partly because a lot of them are trash. I honestly don't find them massively fun to read a lot of the time. So my area of expertise, therefore, being video games, I will pick 2. First, what is it? Alex Monroe from Elite Force.
Elite Force.
Who is your sort of your Doom Marine, as it were, of Voyager. who has their sort of Kobayashi Maru moment throughout all that and grows into a bit of a leader. And I like their interplay and the character they gave him. And I also appreciate the fact that in the first one, at least, you could play as a woman, and that was I thought that was a nice way of flipping it, because you don't often, even nowadays, you don't get that kind of variability with a first-person shooter. I would love to see them in Timelines as like a sex sci Voyager type thing. That'd be awesome. In terms of another one, Tyrell from Star Trek Legacy, who is a Enterprise era Vulcan, who basically goes off in search of the Borg because of V'Ger and all that, and dives into that whole aspect and basically becomes a Borg queen because everything that happened at the end of Voyager destabilized the collective, so she can step in.
Wow,
Legacy is kind of nuts. Like the actual gameplay in day-to-day story is a little bit pedestrian, but they've got like lore videos straight up like behind the scenes where it's like connecting up all three eras, and it's very, very in-depth, and I think you'd probably get a kick out of it.
Okay.
All right, just so I have something to talk about in this section, I will make just for something that would be really fun in Timelines as a one-off card is the assimilated Q from the Star Trek Borg FMV CD-ROM game.
Wow.
Just because I think that would be a really fun version of Q to have.
Man, I mean, they've all
That's
got
all.
a John Delancey hard-on, so like, I'm surprised they haven't already.
Eventually.
Yeah. That's going to happen. It's just going to happen. So
Maybe we
everybody
can get
ready.
assimilated Spock as a 4-star alongside it.
Never assimilated Spock.
Never, ever.
We're denied.
Are there any non-canon names? Well, I guess Stars, you fulfilled the request most closely. One name I keep hearing float is Mackenzie Calhoun, which I read one or two of those books.
Oh, that's a whole thing, that is.
But like,
That's a name I know, but I don't know
are there any
anything about it.
non-canon names, not just like canon names in non-canon situations?
Well, no,
'Cause I know
Elias
Mackenzie
Vaughan was someone I
don't know
mentioned. He's
too many
completely
others.
non-canon.
Oh, okay.
He's not appeared in any canon Trek whatsoever. The New Frontier books are strange. It's Peter David, who is a very prolific comic writer, and he's come into he came into doing Trek stuff. And New Frontier is a vibe by itself. It's very, I think you'd like it, Auto. It's very almost TOS-esque in a way, but
Yeah, it's main character's a bit Gary Stewish, but like it's not the worst.
Shelby's in it.
yeah, Shelby.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
She's the first officer / lover.
/ wife.
Oh yeah. Oh, did they get married? I haven't read past.
They get
Wow.
Spoilers.
Oh, I don't care. Like, honestly.
they're on
Spoilers
like
for an entire
19
book
now.
series that you're never going to read.
Exactly.
Well, one of the advantages of books is it's what I really like about animated series is they can do what you can't do on screen. So
Yeah, they do a lot of
They
weird
have
things up.
stuff.
I mean, sometimes they open the door and you're like, all right, let's close that a little bit. But you know, it's still nice to have that freedom.
Isn't like the con officer, and I forget, it's been years since I've read it, but isn't like the con officer
have
related
you?
to like what
But
Apollo
you
or
were
something?
too long.
Yes, that's what I was about to mention. He's the offspring of Carolyn Palamas.
Oh wow.
So in the
focus in.
books, she had the baby.
It says you've been sitting for too long.
No.
To be fair, don't the
Bastard
books
ass watch.
also make
Sassing me.
the what is it, Kirok?
The Brickard?
God, no, like the kid from TOS
Kirok
that was
from-
named after Kirk and McCoy and stuff like
Oh
that.
no, that's in all. Yes, he
That's
is.
in the comics.
Admiral Leonard Akar is basically he is the
Yes,
CNC
that's the
of
one,
Starfleet
yeah.
throughout so many of the post-launch novels. Yeah,
I thought that was a bit of a like, come on, really?
he's quite cool. To be fair,
They-
he's quite a good character.
He was also in the DC comics around when Voyage Home
wow.
came out. They brought him. They brought.
really.
There was a Peter David wrote a trial of James T. Kirk, and so he was one of the witnesses.
Wow.
Wait, Kirk
So,
and
Otto, you want to have
McCoy
like a
had
sidebar
child?
where we like talk about the NFL, where they're
No,
having this,
it's like I think McCoy delivered the baby and it was named after Kirk. I can't.
Yeah. It was in the
you should-
TOS
this is
Leonard
the
James
episode.
Akar.
Yeah.
We can talk
Friday's
football
job.
if you want.
Big,
Big.
obviously.
Rev DeMar's a big Chiefs fan, so we can talk football. Give the other
Wait,
two
how
a
did
break.
this start? Where did this come from? No sport.
Not on my show.
No, not at all. Blood.
Don't even. How
All
dare
right,
you.
we'll what's the word? Compromise. We'll make it a Parisi Squares discussion. That's halfway in between.
Great. Do I get to wear the blue uniforms and have the bulge?
We all have to wear spandex.
I'd rather wear the Riker one, where the ultimate combat.
The lobster.
All right, the
outfit,
lobster.
Yeah.
The ultimate martial art.
Yes.
Do you ever stop and think about the fact that Kyle Riker is such a petty piece of shit? The instant his son became
Yes, I
good
do.
at anything, he was like, "I have to cheat mercilessly for years to destroy my son's self-esteem because I might not be the best at something." And I'm like,
Honestly,
"Wow,
I'm
no
basing my
wonderful
entire
ass he
parenting
loves
style
you."
around him.
I actually I love Kyle Riker because there's a lot of
Of course
people.
you do.
It's real. There's a lot of
Well,
people.
true,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
okay.
parents. There's a lot of jerks out there that are exactly like
It's too real.
that.
That's the problem. I can't. No.
It's
And,
not something
you know-
Gene Roddenberry would sign off on, really. He's like, well, no, we can't be dicks in the future. Surely not.
It also fits perfectly with Riker's
I mean, McCoy and
character.
Spock exist. They can absolutely be dicks to each other in the
Yeah.
future.
Riker's again,
Well, I
where
mean,
he's
the-
a risk taker, and if you can't give that parent to Ensign Kim, that doesn't make any sense. So, like, it fit perfectly, I thought.
Well, and the way out is he wasn't in Starfleet, so he can
Yeah.
be, a little.
He
Civilian
can be a
contract.
filial, like Bashir's dad.
No, Ensign Kim just came home from the Delta Quadrant. His parents just said, why are you not a lieutenant yet?
Well, to be fair, that's a real fair question.
I didn't notice a pip on my chair. Shut the fuck up, Harry.
Oh, God, yeah. Poor Harry.
Like, the fact that they lean on it, the fact that they actually like point out, hey, Harry hasn't had a promotion in 6 seasons, and then they're like, anyway.
Yeah, it's like Tom
Actually-
Paris has been demoted and promoted in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair,
Got promoted as well.
Harry's parents are actually really supportive when they show him on the show. They do some long distance
Yeah,
call, and
very
his
cute.
parents are like, they're pretty
Yeah,
supportive.
doesn't his mom offer to talk to Captain Janeway about getting him promoted?
Yeah.
That probably would have worked. Speaking of which, Otto, have you been watching Prodigy?
No, I haven't watched any of it yet. I just
There
haven't
are
had time.
confirmed Screwtape sightings.
Oh, speaking of Prodigy
Yeah,
and speaking
I
of
know
New
that.
Frontier, very quickly, they have actually canonized a New Frontier species. I believe it's a security officer in New Frontier, Zach Kebron, who is a Breaker, is the same as
Zac Efron?
Zach Kebron. No, is that his name? Zach Kebron. Hang on. This is like pre.
I don't think
Zac
Zach is part of it.
Is it not?
Yeah. He's the rock creature.
Yeah, the rock creature who is also.
Grignac.
Oh, I've got to find out what his name. Zach
Grignac,
Kebron. His
that's the
name
one.
is Zach Kebron. Actually, is.
I mean, idol noted rock enthusiast. So
Yes.
Noted star of Hairspray.
Anyway. But yes, no, yeah, Prodigy. Let's talk about Prodigy. It's surprised me. A
I
lot.
just said I haven't seen any of it.
I'm
though.
not going to spoil it, but
I'm
gonna
with
say-
you, Otto. So I'll drink to that.
I'm not going to spoil it, but
Okay.
I'm going to say there are some like the first few. I will say like the first few episodes, you kind of watch it and go, okay, this is a kids' Nickelodeon show. The main character's a bit of a brat. These things happen, and how happy and happy resolutions. But I think the last 4 episodes in this current season have been like the most Star Trek things ever. Like there's a time traveling episode. There is a moral dilemma. Like they address the Kobayashi Maru at points, and it's just like, and there's so many little teasers, and there's a lot more Janeway than I actually thought there was gonna be. It surprised me. Like if you go for the
She's a proper
mindset
main
of thinking-
character, yeah.
if you go with the mindset of just like, okay, this is a kids show, you will be I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but if you set your bar low, you will be surprised. But that's kind of how I went into it. But yeah, I'm a huge Prodigy
Honestly,
fan.
it's Voyager Part 2, and in ways better written than Voyager was, so
Yeah,
that's,
In some spots,
consistently,
that's
anyway.
not that high a bar.
yeah.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of starting
So
low
if-
and going up.
If Lower Decks is 1% serious, what percent serious is Prodigy?
Probably about 50, 60.
70, 80?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's relatively serious. It's not that tongue-in-cheek, honestly.
Hmm.
It takes stuff quite seriously.
Like the main character he's very immature and very stupid at points, and you kind of grind your teeth at him sometimes, but that's the points where you realize. But he does grow. Like, he has moments where he actually, you feel character development with him, which is what I quite like.
Yeah, it does take that whole prospect of what does it look like to actually have a load of, like, you know, if what was Starfleet Academy but not a CW show. You know, what if it were, look, there are these kids who are very disparate personalities, and then they just have to do it, and they have to be led by a Starfleet officer. And I remember watching one or two clips of it where, especially Janeway is addressing the Tellarite, and the addressing of different cultural differences. Like, it's very Star Trek in that respect. Like, it knows its stuff. It's very respectful of the source material.
And there's tons of it. There's nods in a way, not like Lower Decks, where it's like the Family Guy cut away, and there's this species, and here's that species, and here's this, like, you know, we're going to talk about Rogan and I. No, it's very much sort of like, you know, one of the characters is a Medusan, and they do specifically address parts of the Medusan mythology in by the finale. And, you know, we've got the Brekar, we've got a Tellarite who sort of gives hints of why he's in the Delta Quadrant, and we've got the two unknown species, and then there's the Chakotay element, which we're still working out as well. It's like, what's going on there? So it's
and there's also, it does lean a little bit hard into fan service at points. Like, there is one episode in particular I'm thinking of that involves the Holo program that is very fan servicey, but in a way that felt kind of nice. Like, I didn't mind it at all, really.
It's very fun playing. If the episode I think you're talking about is very fun playing Guess the Quote. And there's a good video on that.
Where's that from? Yeah.
Since you mentioned CW, one more great memory I have, because Voyager used to be on UPN, which I think turned into CW, the network. But
oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Shortly after my grandmother passed, my grandfather came and lived with us for a while. And so every, once a week, we'd sit on the old blue and white checkered couch together and watch an episode of Voyager. And then he passed shortly after. So I had this time that I got to spend with him at like a really important moment, and Star Trek was like the binder, because there's not a lot for people 70 years apart in age to talk about, but if you can plop down on the couch and watch a show that you both enjoy, that's really nice to have. So that was the only good show that UPN produced. I think they tried to do a revival of Twilight Zone, I think. That's the only other thing I watched.
It's been revived like 3 times, I think. Wasn't the first 1980s Twilight Zone, that had Bruce Willis in it, didn't it? The very first episode.
Wasn't that the one that got some people killed in the helicopter?
No, that was a movie. That was a movie.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Twilight Zone, the movie, got Vic, what's his name, and a couple of kids.
Vic Morrow, I
believe. Shit, really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yes. Yeah, the helicopter landed on him and killed him.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be in Vietnam.
Oh.
Yeah, that was brutal. But as Nifty confirmed in the chat, that the UPN and the WB merged together to become what is now the CW,
which is being sold off.
So I went back and
weird.
watched. I went back and watched George Takei's Twilight Zone, the old black and white one. Actually, I really like the original Twilight Zone, but I haven't seen them all yet. So I went back and watched
that
this
holds
one.
up so well, and
really
you wouldn't think it would.
The George Takei one is really, like, he has more. He shows his acting chops off in that little. It's like a one-room drama, way more than he had in all the TOS and all the movies, and he did really well in that. And it's something. It's still topical today because it's about racism essentially, and it's like a really good episode. So if you want to go back, It's not even sci-fi stuff. It's just if you want to go back.
Well, it's like kind of morality and existential play, right?
Yeah. So.
Which is what
if
Twilight Zone was all about.
Oop, shoot! I just accidentally left the call. Sorry, I
Are
accidentally
we still streaming?
I accidentally left the call. Sorry. Hang on. Sorry. There we go. I'm back.
Oh boy. Well done.
I pressed the wrong button. Please carry on. Okay, so I think like one of the first Twilight Zone episodes I watched was like I mentioned, it's the Bruce Willis one. It was the first episode of the 1980s one, and I loved it because I think he's going through. I think time had stopped. and he's going through trying to work out what the hell had happened and whatever. And the very last shot is him looking up, and everyone's looking up into the sky, and there is an atomic bomb.
Double dumbass on you!
And there is an atomic bomb just about to land on the side. Thank you.
Oh, Cranky! God bless you. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, sorry.
So the bomb's going off?
Well, no, it's about to land.
Okay.
And it just stops there. The episode stops, and you don't know what happens. But he's stuck in time with the nuclear bomb about to land on the town, and everyone's looking up at it. And I thought that was quite good.
Are you a Twilight Zone fan, Rev?
I watched a lot of them in the black and white during the 80s because you didn't have as many channels. So the channel that showed all the Star Treks would show the Twilight Zone at night.
Did you also have Lost in Space reruns?
I remember watching it very young as a kid, but I just remember the robot and the doctor and bubble-headed booby was the phrase. I think the doctor, that was one of the phrases that they called the doctor or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
why not?
It doesn't hold up versus Star Trek.
Yeah.
Now you talk.
I was literally just thinking that.
Well, the animated,
so fuck you.
When the animated series was out, I remember I was too young to probably be able to change the channel and watch it. So if I watch it now, the stories aren't any good, but it has nostalgia because it's the music and the sound effects.
Well, I mean, I will say, though, I mean, the stories, if you try and think of it as an extra season of TOS and, them telling some of the stories that they wanted to tell and never got to, I mean, it works better than you think it would. I went into it very skeptical and was thoroughly entertained.
There was actually a very good documentary on the production of TAS that I ended up sitting and watching. It's only about half an hour long. I can't remember the name of it, but they put as much devotion into that as they did TOS. Like, probably more than they did on TOS season 3. There was a lot of sort of build up and work towards like producing these scripts. Like Walt Koenig, who didn't appear in TAS, actually wrote a script as well. Like, there was a lot of talent behind it. Harlan Ellison was there as well. So and this it's dated, obviously, because it is an animated series from Space Ghost coast to coast style, but
it's Hanna-Barbera level animation in a lot of ways. But yeah,
it's actually interesting, the fluctuation in quality of voice acting from episode to episode, because there are ones where it sounds like Shatner's off a bender and he shouldn't be doing this right now, but there are other ones where he's like very emotive and you can tell he's putting in the effort, which is nice. So, but it does vary wildly, I think, from episode to episode.
Now you talk.
There we go.
Yesteryear, I think Yesteryear was the first one I watched all the way through, so that probably spoiled me because they say it's a good one. I started the Ari Bin Bem one, and it was like, all right, this is bad. I didn't even finish it, but
the Jihad.
I think I've had one or two since. Jihad is okay. I mean, if you look at it like Saturday morning cartoons with a Trek flavor, then it's totally fine. That fits the bill.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so you gotta get through the first couple of episodes, because the first couple of episodes are pretty ridiculous, but then you start getting on better footing.
What's the last one? The last one's the counterclock incident with Robert April, Commodore Robert April, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, noted timeline stinker.
Cardwheel forgot we had. I think I have him. Do I have Robert April? I'm sure I do.
I don't think I have him. I think
it hasn't been inflicted upon you yet.
Let me have a look. Hang on. Yeah. I'm sure I had to take him at one point.
I remember an episode of Timeline
Stinkers
where Stars was advocating that they give him away as a global gift.
Oh, I was talking about again going back about the Star Trek Encyclopedia, where Robert April has an entry, and they decided to use a picture of Gene Roddenberry as a production picture in a TOS uniform. And I was saying he should be perpetually the number 100 Voyager with like a shifting rank, so that he's always level 100, and that's your always thing, and it's Gene Roddenberry. And I was like, that's a neat little gimmick, but No, instead we got.
I mean, if they went to the trouble of using Archer as the shadowy bastard humanoid figure reference, why couldn't they have used a stock photo of Gene Roddenberry to make a better version of Robert April?
Like, if they want, if Timelines want to do an ultimate, like, we're going to celebrate Trek, they would release Gene Roddenberry as the Great Bird of the Galaxy and make him the #1 Voyager. That is the ultimate tribute, isn't it? Essentially.
No, let's make him a ship.
Or Char in game. What do we?
Let's make him a ship. Yeah, let's make him the default constellation
And Elite
and just
Ohm.
change the texture. No, fuck you.
Idle. Do you remember New Frontier has the Great Bird of the Galaxy?
It does, yes. Actually hatched out of a planet. I forgot about that.
Yes. Yes, some
That's
sort
actually
of
part
glowing
the guy's
bird
religion,
thing.
isn't it? Yeah,
Yes.
no, that series is a ride. It really is, isn't it?
Yes.
Christ.
So I wonder if it would be a rights issue, because I can't imagine he's included along with all the regular actors. So I wonder if that's part of it. Like, because we'll probably never get like Stephen Hawking or a few of the other real cameos, but I wonder how difficult.
I mean, we
it
got
would
Mae
be for them to
Jemison.
get
That's
Roddenberry.
something.
You could put Isaac Newton in.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the public
Yeah.
domain by that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could get Freud. We could get Sigmund Freud. Kill them all, Data.
Probably. Yeah.
I
Who
wanna
else
get
could we
the-
get from public domain?
I want to get the train conductor from Emergence.
Vertiform City?
Vertiform
Yeah.
City guy. Tickets, please.
Oh, get the Big Lebowski. Yeah.
Dude, there were more bad TNG episodes than people want to admit. There were
Oh yeah, no, especially toward the later seasons. There's like some.
Samuel
Yeah,
Clemens
his-
from Times Arrow. Oh god, that guy was turned up to 15.
Yeah.
To be fair, I bet you Mark Twain was probably just like that.
Maybe.
No, actually, it's like there was a late season episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 where Professor Bobo is like a defense attorney in like a trial or something, and he sounds 100% like that version of Sam Clemens from Times Arrow. And I just like every
Wait,
time I
isn't
hear
that-
Jerry Hardin's Mark Twain,
Yeah.
I just think about Professor Bobo from Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's like, you're going to hear the word panties a lot in this trial, so I would just get your giggles out now. Panties, panties, panties,
I'm having
panties.
deja vu because I swear we talked about Dr. Bobo on the show like 2 years ago, and it's coming back. I'm gonna troll
You're
the
never going to be
archives and
far
see.
from MST3K. My
have to
name in the
note
game is a
unless the
freaking
story in general
MST3K
opinion.
reference. You're never going to be that far from Mystery Science while I'm around.
Sorry, I had to
Now
step
you
away.
talk.
No, yeah, I will. I'm actually going to divert and just talk about what I'm drinking tonight, because I've actually just finished off a couple of bottles of this, a couple of cans of this coffee and vanilla stout, which was very nice. And I thought, well, my final beer of the night, because I've got work tomorrow, is a porter, the Moore Porter, and I don't often drink a lot of porters.
Well,
What have you got?
I killed this here bottle while we've been talking.
At down. A little bit of ASMR for you all. Here you go,
A
hang on.
poop question.
Seriously?
Question, Captain.
A poop pee question, Captain. That's the ultimate remix.
Yeah, actually, everybody's home now, so poop pee could happen at any point from here on.
I do have. Here we go.
A poop question, sir?
There you go.
It's not Captain. No, I'm a fake
Question,
fan.
sir?
Oh, I got tricked twice. Thank you, Greg.
No, see, but if it's Trip, you've got Cap'em, like CAP
yeah.
apostrophe M, Cap'em.
Yeah.
That's
It shocked me
Trip.
that wasn't Connor Trinneer's actual accent. He's a lot more.
He's British, actually.
No, he's
No.
not.
No.
isn't he from like Minnesota or something?
Fucking
I like how the world stood still for a fraction of a second. They're like, "There's no way that's correct."
cool.
No, it's like you come down with righteous anger. It's like, no, you're incorrect.
Did you know Anthony Montgomery is actually Russian?
Oh,
Yeah, I believe that about a guy named Anthony Montgomery.
a
Yeah,
double
Linda
H.
Park's Italian.
The unknown fact, Linda Park is the stage name. She's really Lindina Parkerino.
The universal translator is a series of hand gestures. I hope we haven't offended our Italian contingent out there.
I needed that. Thank you.
are there any Italians in Trek?
Well, there's gotta be. Fuck. There's gotta be. Is there not? Oh, kind of counts, but kind of not. Leonardo da Vinci,
Yeah, okay.
played by a Welshman, admittedly.
I'm just gonna Google this one.
Is there any
Oh, there's a memory alpha page for Italian.
Oh.
Is it a
Is it going to be like half references to? No, it's going to be half references to Tom Paris talking about pizza. I bet you.
Oh no, Leah Brahms Fungili. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
yes,
Is there really? I could have sworn there would have been more Italian
Gibney.
representation.
That's very Italian.
Thank you, Nifty. No Brits, no Italians, no Serbo-Croatians. That's not the only race that's been... I say race. Only country that has
No,
not
I'm
been...
from Malta. How dare they?
Pepperoni pizza with Bavarian olives right now. I'm
There we go.
starving.
Thank you, Walt.
Luigi.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody that
I'm really
might have
struggling
some
now.
Italian.
Oh.
there
Lieutenant Martin.
really
is,
no
maybe?
one?
No, that's more Spanish, isn't it?
What?
No, I think he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
Giuseppe
Wow.
Verdi from the Upper Rigoletto. That's what Doc sings in Virtuoso.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Verdi.
Is there really no one? That is bizarre to me.
Well, are we talking about like real life actors or just like?
No, I think...
Yeah,
Charles
we're
is
talking
actually
speaking
there.
Characters.
I'll take either at this point because, like,
Yeah.
I'm really coming with a blank.
Wow. Italian-American gangsters in
No.
Stormfront. Oh, what about from someone from Dixon Hill? There's got to be one that's got to be like, hey, what
No,
you doing,
they're
Dix?
all
Come on!
Yeah, what about that?
This guy.
What about that
Nicky
nervous-
Nose
that-
with
yeah.
chicken dicks.
Nicky the
Waylon.
Nose.
Cranky
Yeah.
nose. What was
Yeah,
it,
Nicky the
Wayland?
Nose. Nicky the Nose has to be Italian. I bet you.
He's got a made man, right?
I bet you if you look back in Ethan Phillips' family tree, there's got to be some Italian in there
Ensign
somewhere. I think.
D'Amato in TNG. There's a good one.
Tomato.
There you go.
You
That's
say
the
tomato,
Italian
I
name.
say tomato.
I say dematerialize, but you know, whatever.
Kurt
Regional
Bandera.
differences. It's a regional dialect from Upper Albany, but you know, who cares?
DeFalco?
This is your. You need to flip shuttle
Oh,
warning.
DeFalco from TMP? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Joe Piscopo.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Fuck off. Oh, God.
There you go.
The high of Italian. Oh, God.
Jesus.
It's those old scientists, Brad and circuses on the Roman planet.
Oh yes. Oh God.
Oh, okay.
Marcus Flavius, something.
Well, I mean,
that's
you
right.
know,
Gladiator. Yeah,
Apollo
Gladiator.
is the Greek and Roman god. It's Apollo in both pantheons.
Yeah,
so you
I
know.
guess. A Welshman playing Leonardo da Vinci, a Roman Greek god, and a few minor characters. That's the best we
Italian
can do.
representation.
Does
Star Trek and
Virtuoso Doctor count?
No.
Yeah, you mentioned
No. I don't. I'm shocked no one from Discovery. I would have thought.
That's true.
What about Nan's actor? Well, our
Rick
esteemed
You mean
introductory.
the
Yes.
Star Trek Timelines talks?
Yeah, noted.
Timeline
Yeah,
talks.
it's Timeline Talks.
Yes.
We're going to rebrand
get it
them
right.
again
Do you know,
now.
so many times I've thought of overdubbing a s in there just to try. I thought, no, I'll leave
Just
it.
change the show name. And the
Oh, she's Indian Scottish, so no. Okay, I
Wow,
thought her
okay.
last name might have been Italian.
we have a billion times more Scott
call that a-
representation than Italian.
Yeah, that's odd to me. That's crazy.
Like the
This must be addressed.
The guy in
Nick
Sabrosa that
got it.
handles the weather.
Nicholas Nocano. Nicholas Nocano.
No, get out of here.
There's lots of French because he got Lieutenant Massé. Jean-Luc Picard.
Well, yeah, he goes to La Bar and they do a whole episode. So, which, by the way,
Robert Duncan McNeil just hitting all the corners on that one. Filling in all the.
Olivia.
Anybody know if he
Darbo.
did a Greek character?
I think I plugged Family recently, but if you haven't watched that in a while, go back and watch it. It's so much better than you remember. It has a heart. It's all heart, actually. It's a great episode.
Yeah.
They could have made that a two-parter, actually, if they wanted to.
Essentially,
but-
it's Best of Both Worlds Part 3, really. It is the conclusion
Yeah.
to that arc,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And even the stuff with the Worf is great.
Yeah.
Even the stuff, fuck you, it's great. It's wonderful.
That's good.
No, but I mean,
It's delightful. They're so lovely.
Okay, I have
At
a
that
question
point-
for you, Stars. Sorry, go on, Auto. I'll have a question for you, Stars, when Auto's done.
well, no, at that point in TNG, he hadn't. The whole delve into the Klingon backstory and the long hair Dorn that we get later on, that hadn't occurred yet. So this was like opening the crack. It was prune juice, and then it was this, and then it was more. But
I could have sworn we had Kern and stuff before we had.
yeah, but that wasn't a
Accommodation
ton
worked
of.
before.
Actually, what's the first
Because
episode with
doesn't he
Impact,
talk to his
I
parents
think?
about being discommendated? Like,
No, I'm not saying he got nothing. I'm saying he didn't
Yeah.
get much until this point.
okay, yeah,
I
that's
mean, his
fine,
real
that's fine.
development was DS9. But my question for you, Stars, is what do you think is the worst Worf episode, or the worst moment with Worf?
It's easy. It's Let He Who Is Without Sin. It is obviously
okay,
that
yeah,
one because
yeah.
Well,
it's a character assassination.
Yeah.
actually, I'm in full agreement with Worf throughout that entire episode. Those harlots.
I mean, it doesn't feel like ethics does him a lot of favors either.
I know. Ethics, I can see it a bit more because he is a very active individual who places a lot of emphasis on his martial prowess and his athletic ability. Like, but if someone, it'd be like if like an Olympic medalist, like I had like a problem like that. It's like I could see if they were like massively depressed, I could see them acting kind of like Worf. But like He Is Without Sin, like they just want to go on holiday, Worf. Don't be a fucking cunt about it.
My least favorite Worf is the Sword of Kahless, especially at the point where they're traversing this little ledge,
Yeah.
and Kor slips, and he's hanging on by the batleth, and Worf is gonna let a Dahar Master die just because he's jealous of him possibly having the sword. I'm like, come on, he has an ethical core. Worf wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's at the heart of it. If you can look at a Worf moment and you think, would Worf's mother really approve of that? Like, good old like Helena Rozhenko. If she was like, then it's probably a bad thing for Worf to be doing. That's the ultimate litmus test.
Well,
Which,
I mean,
by extension, means that she was looking down on him murdering Gowron, like, yes, go on, my son.
Okay, so I just noticed I'm cheating. I'm on Memory Alpha. And I'm looking at the Sword of Kahless episode, and they have like little arrows next to them. So this says that it's the 79th episode. If you want to click the little arrow, you can go back to the 78th episode. They actually have story arcs in there. So this is part 6 of 6 of the Worf versus Duras story arc. So you can actually skip back through.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
Tyrell's in it. Yeah.
Is that supposed to be him grown up?
Yeah. It's meant to be Tyrell because he wants to get the Sword of Kahless to reunite he's in it for like 2 minutes. It's a really limp end to a storyline that they had promised in TNG, and I'm like, guys, if you're going to do that, just don't bother. It's about as bad as the Alexander stuff.
They did
like trap him in there.
They did follow up in Armada with Tyrell, though, didn't they?
Well, yeah. Armada was... That's the
true
rare
ending.
instance of Armada doing well, yeah.
but
I love how in the Sword of Kahless story arc in Armada, the Defiant like flies up to find it, and the sword is floating in space, and it's like twice the size of the ship itself because it's they have no sense of scale. Yeah,
it's the vertigo.
Sorry, big.
But I mean, Let He Who Is Without Sin is my least favorite episode of Trek in the entire canon of Trek episodes. So, I mean, that first answer was the best answer. I mean, I loathe that episode to the point that, I mean, Arandis is in the game now. That's fine. But, if Pascal Fullerton shows up in the game, I am going to be strongly tempted to airlock him just out of spite.
Well, now, hold on.
Loathe that episode.
We have Tourist Jadzia. We have Tourist Worf. We have Arandis.
Yeah.
We have Riza Bashir. I think he's from that one.
Tourist Quark as well.
Yeah.
Tourist Quark. Yeah. So we have like almost all of them.
Almost all of
Lita,
them.
don't we? Lita from that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But God, I
Yeah,
hate
no,
that
it's a singularly humorless episode because it's like I don't even understand where it comes from because Worf can be really stuck up and stodgy, but even on TNG he would let his hair down and be horny as well. Like when he's around Kayla and Troy, he's into it, he's down.
Bares his teeth.
And then I'm meant to believe. Well, also don't forget early season 1 and 2 Worf where he's a bit more animalistic, and you're like. Okay, and I'm meant to believe that he doesn't look at
This
Jadzia in that bathing suit and go, okay, I can deal with this. It just feels like a misreading of the character, and it doesn't know one any favors, because it also makes the Federation look like a load of putzes, because he does the terrorist action and gets away with nothing. You just...
Yeah.
Don't do that, Worf.
When did Michael Dorn join DS9? Was it season 4 or 5?
Season 4, episode 1.
Season 4,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I was going to say, and so this is season 5, episode 7. I was going to say, if this was shortly after he joined, you could sort of explain it away as he's trying to be everything, by the book, and he's a little bit caught up in his smelling his own farts and stuff. But this has been long enough that he should have been broken in and
it was a writer that was going to tell their story no matter what they had to do to.
Oh, is it like that writer who keeps on writing the Code of Honor thing, no matter what sci-fi show she's attached to?
Yeah, it was the same one in Stargate, wasn't there, with Carter?
Gareth loves bringing that trivia up, and every time he brings it up, it makes me smile, because he's right to bring it up, because it is really, really telling about her skill as a writer.
Okay, let's flip it. Best Worf episode.
Birthright.
Ooh, interesting.
Birthright's a strong pick.
That's where Worf was owning the history of Klingon,
But
being
he's the outsider version of Klingon history. He sees it through the lens of a book and thinks that's everything, as opposed to actually living it, which he got called out on a few times by Kahlest and Guinan and
But this was the episode where that was an advantage, not
Yes, true.
a disadvantage. It's that's.
I can't pick between two. Heart of Glory and Tacking into the Wind.
Interesting. Oh, Tacking into the Wind is a good one. That's the one with him and
Yeah,
Dax
'cause
when
that's-
they go into when he basically
that the
has
last
to
of the
choose between
core?
her.
Oh no,
Oh.
you're thinking of Change of Heart.
Oh yes, no, sorry.
I was just going to say,
I'm thinking it's the Gowron episode.
my dark horse is Change of Heart, because unpopular opinion, I guess, I never enjoyed the Jadzia Worf romance stuff, but I don't remember that Change of Heart super well, but he goes back and rescues her, and the part I like is Sisko's line at the end. I even pulled it up. He goes, "You and Jadzia are not to be assigned a mission on your own ever again.
Yeah.
And one last thing, as a man who had a wife, if Jennifer had been lying in that clearing, I wouldn't have left her either." I really love that moment between Sisko and Worf.
So
That's a really strong moment, yeah.
Like, Worf didn't need any more help respecting Sisko, but, if my CO chewed me out and then said that, I'd run through a wall for him, so.
Damn right, yeah.
So I will give my choice here, and because I just remembered it, but I love Rules of Engagement, and that's the one where Worf's on trial,
Oh, yeah.
and that's where one of the few times you see Miles O'Brien in a dress uniform as well. but yeah, you get the Klingon advocate as well. Yeah, it's a really good
we
one.
should get the advocate, Chipok or whatever his name is.
Chimpok, I
Dude.
believe, yeah.
It was really good because he baits him and Worf's getting bug-eyed, and I think he attacks him at one point in that.
Man, that's Ron.
I think
the
so,
guy
yeah.
that plays him is called Ron Canada.
Ron Canada, yeah, you
Ron
bring it up
Canada,
every time.
pheasant.
Wow. Oh, he's in Orville as well. Oh, yes, no, I know it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I recognise his face now.
Guess what? If you've been in classic TNG era Trek, you will appear on Orville
Yeah,
at one
that's
point
true.
in time. It is an actual galactic improbability to avoid it.
He's been on Boston Legal as well.
Okay.
Stargate.
He was in the Masterpiece Society.
And then another one is by
been on
Inferno's
Frasier.
Life,
Sorry.
where he's,
Idle, shut the
No,
fuck
we're-
up. Biggest
Hey,
donkey.
hey! Let Big talk now.
yeah, because I've lost my mic now, so I gotta be barky. But by Inferno's Light, where he's the Dominion prisoner, he's the gladiator fighting the Templar.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's a strong one. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Purgatory Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that two-parter. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
But I
that's
think-
a really strong one.
Yeah, that's where he gets to step into himself as a Klingon warrior most fully, I would say.
I think everyone had a strong part in that because you have Garrick with the daddy issues and the claustrophobia, and he comes out looking great as the hero. You have Ikatika as the only recurring Jem'Hadar role in the show, and he's a badass because he's like,
He's honorable, yeah.
I can kill him, but I can't break him, so I yield. That's really cool. You have the Martok Worf Brotherhood going on there. So I think everyone comes out looking good in that.
That's also, I think, my boyfriend's favorite version of Bashir because he's all kind of like grizzled and he's like really like that rebel kind of thing.
5
It's
o'clock
like,
shadow.
yeah, no, he's a little bit grizzled and he tells Vorta to basically go fuck himself. Like it's good fun.
And you have this Twilight Zone-esque moment where you have Changeling Bashir back on the station, and then when the viewer figures out it's not really him, the viewer figures out it's not him, and then they cut to Prisoner of War
like,
Bashir.
you want some cake? And he's like hovering over like the where they're sort of like sitting in the sort of the sub part of like the ops room. He's like, would you like something?
Ops,
Everyone's
yeah.
looking up going, what the fuck are you doing? It's almost as if it's like the moment in a Poirot episode where the suspect has I now have the evil voice and I'm going to twirl my moustache, isn't it? It's like I am the evil Bashir now. Cranky, I like your comment. Sorry, I like Cranky's comment. The best Worf is the undiscovered country, Colonel Worf.
Yes.
Grunterbar, what's your favourite iterate? What is your since we're talking about Worf for some reason, I can't remember how we got onto it, but what was your favourite Worf moment?
So.
I would say Sins of the Father.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Very good.
That's the example, I'd say. That is the progenitor, yeah.
And then the end would be when he and Ezri, when he kills Wei Un and Damar starts laughing because there's only one Damar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think my favourite part of that is the follow-up in the next episode when Wei Yun pops up again, and he's like, maybe we should go ask him some more questions, and he just starts giggling. It's like one of my favourite moments in all of DS9. It's so hilarious.
Brilliant. Speaking of Sins of the Father, I will never forget, like, just, Picard standing up to the Klingon who's threatening, you may test that assumption.
That assumption at your convenience.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
It's a badass Picard moment.
Feels good. Feels good to laugh.
It does feel good to laugh. Fuck Picard, yeah, thank you, Nifty. Alright, okay.
I had this real winding link between Bill Pullman and whatever we were talking about in Star Trek, but by the time I figured out which series I was talking about, it didn't quite line up. So.
Oh dear.
I will say if I'm watching a series
Baseballs?
with, the guy who plays
Worf.
Lone Star.
Yeah.
No, it
Jimmy
was
Paul.
something else. No,
You know
there's
what's
a
the weirdest
series-
thing is Bill Pullman is this actor where I'm associated with two roles. One is as his as the dad in Casper, where he's like ultimate family friendly, and then in Torchwood season 4, where he's a child killing paedophile.
Oh my
And
god,
the other
wasn't
most-
he? Oh my god, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
I know. The most diametrically opposed. I'm like, these are weird conceptions of the same actor.
Jesus.
There's an ongoing series. I don't know if it's Netflix original, but it's called The Sinner. and he basically plays a police detective, and each season is its own contained story, start to finish. And then they do a link in between, but you get like one season at a time of a whodunit, and it's actually quite good. So he plays in that quite well, I think.
Cranky points out that he'll always be the president of the US of A.
I was gonna get there, but we didn't. Today we declare our Independence Day. Now you talk.
So what? How did you get to Bill Pullman? I still don't get that. How did you get to Bill
We're
Pullman?
talking about something Sins of the Father, and it brought up something in The Sinner that tied in like story-wise.
Right.
I don't know. It's getting late, dude. I think I might have to punch out real soon.
I think it's a good time to stop. We've had a good, fun, chilled out stream. We should always do this more often. Not talk about time.
We didn't talk about food once.
That's true. What did you have? Okay, let's leave on this one. What was your dinner tonight? Because I have an interesting answer to this question. But guys, what was your dinners tonight? Or what was going to be your dinner for those of you who are globally challenged?
Not had dinner yet? Yeah.
We're having chicken fried steak.
Ooh.
Chicken fried steak. Fuck off.
Making me hungry.
Interesting.
Yeah, just go ahead and end it right there. You're not going to do better than that.
Yeah, so these two live in Kansas City and Texas, and there are no better barbecue places in the universe than KC in Texas. So I've never had like actual restaurant like slow cooked barbecue. All I get is like a bad approximation. So
no, that's kind of the one thing of watching like years of Man versus Food. I kind of want to go to America and just go nuts on some like barbecue place. It just looks so good.
You know,
we tried to get it last night, but they were too busy.
Yeah. So what's the? Sorry, I always hear like the wait lines are super, super long for these great barbecue joints. Like, is that your experience in KC?
You just order takeout. That's the way to go.
Okay.
Unless you go to one of the slower places that you can get in all the time.
This is a man who knows. Yeah. No, it's funny. It's like my favorite barbecue place that I went to was actually back in Houston when I lived in Houston, but it wasn't for the barbecue. It's like the barbecue was fine. It was perfectly serviceable, but it had a world-class salad bar, and we would go to just get an entree and then also get that salad bar. Wow. So you can go to the salad bar like 2 or 3 times.
That sounds like reading Playboy for the articles. You go to a barbecue joint for the salad bar, really?
I'm not going to disagree with that. But it's a really fucking good salad bar.
Wow.
But
one of my old jobs.
Go ahead.
No, one of my old jobs in June, they would have a barbecue contest across the street in the city park every year, and so you could go across the street and nibble on what they were cooking.
So was that distracting at work, having to smell that all the time?
Well, actually, they had to block off the parking lot so nobody could park there. You had shuttle buses going to the park.
Okay,
that's how busy it was. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, but no, the classic the place I think in Texas is Franklin Barbecue, which that's one of the places that you have to get up and go at like 8, 9 in the morning to start getting in line so that you can maybe be in by lunchtime.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's serious, and it's good. It's really, really good. But I think that's something that you make a pilgrimage to once if you're really serious about barbecue, and then like Damar said, just get some takeout and go on about your day because. Yeah, no, I mean, there's like literally, it's like there's playbooks for like people like take a deck of cards, do your thing. It's like it's almost like tailgating before a football game or something. It's a communal thing, but yeah, it's like it's really good. But settle down. It's not worth taking up an entire half of your day just to have a meal.
You spend 10 minutes eating ribs.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing, and people love it, and some people are very, very religious about that kind of thing. But it's like, for me, it's like, yes, I've done it once, I've had that experience. I'll just get some fast food somewhere else and just go on with my life.
So I've been kind of going on the Japanese food train. We've found there's an Asian near where I work is an Asian food sort of supermarket. So I've been kind of getting the sort of like the misos and the things like that because you can't get them anywhere else. So I was like, right, I'll get these. And I actually took a whole roast chicken yesterday, stuck it in the slow cooker and like boiled it for 24 hours and made a proper chicken broth. Did the noodles, put the noodles in, got these different misos in there and made the broth. And we ate it in 10 minutes and my wife was like, yeah, that was all right. I was really loving it. The boys were really loving it. And the boys, yeah, no, that was fine. I was like, I've just spent like 24 hours cooking this. Come on. Give me some credit, but no, it was really nice. But I love Japanese, love Asian food. So this was kind of like a bit of got the proper pad thai noodles and everything. It was great.
There's a place near us called Oishi Bar and Grill. Is it Bar and Grill? It's grill and sushi. Anyways, the standard like buffet thing is you get 20,
right?
Wait, what?
Never mind. Just don't listen to me.
So they give you 20 rounds like per person. So if you go there with your friends or whatever, and they'll bring out a round at a time. And, you're kind of done by round 7 or 8.
Oh,
if
give
you're
me buffet.
feeling
Give
frisky.
me buffet for life. Like,
but you paid for it, so they're going to keep bringing it. So they have everything from like pork chops to all kind of sushi you want to like baked camembert cheese, and then a lot of different kinds of like ice cream. So we had used up our normal food stomach budget, so we just went for ice cream at the end, and we stacked the little bowls like up to the ceiling with. So that's a great place to go. When you guys visit, we'll go there.
Pre-COVID, like Chinese buffets, any kind of like when it was just like go and eat what you want, and there was like no like restrictions. I thought, oh man, like there was this great place when I went to university in Manchester, and like it was the best Chinese buffet. They would have like steamers in stacks, so you could just open them up and take steam buns and things like that. Oh, so good. I miss buffets. Like I don't think we're ever going to go back to that culture in the next 5 years, but
well, I'm laughing in Texas because they went back to buffets.
Yeah, I was going to say, like in some parts of America, I'm sure that's.
Did they ever stop?
Yeah.
I mean, and I've gone to it once since COVID has happened, and it was still the same experience and was still delicious. And I've had COVID twice now, so that's
pure coincidence.
But, these are separate things, but yeah, no, it's like, look, you can't beat a good buffet. Well, and that's the other thing. It's like I wonder now, talking about that barbecue restaurant that has the great salad bar. It's like I wonder if COVID killed that salad bar because I haven't been back down there. I don't know.
I think you need an expedition. We need to report in on the salad bar. This. Like, what was in the salad bar that made it so good? We need to details. Like, I'm just thinking, like, lettuce and eggs.
It was crack. It was all crack.
Yeah.
Just a straw. You put up your nose.
It was clearly, it was the ranch dressing was probably laced with some kind of methamphetamine that just made it, irresistible or something like that. But no, I can't even tell you what was so great about it, but it was just great.
Stunning.
And you would just, it was one of those things that had standard salad bar ingredients, iceberg lettuce and then romaine lettuce and then spinach and sliced tomatoes and stuff like that. But then also like some left of center ingredients. It's like pepperoni and sliced turkeys and hams and things like that. But yeah, it just
Bavarian olives.
Yeah. Like Kalamata olives
mint
and that kind of stuff.
Frosting.
Yes.
I think we should have started with food because Big really perked up when we started on the food thing.
Meanwhile, Stars, you and me have got the Morrison salad bar.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same culture over here.
if you didn't know that was the way to gauge my interest, then you didn't know me at all before we started this, and I'm really disappointed in all of you as a collective group. But yeah, no,
We'll do
it's a really
food
damn
talks at some point. We'll get a live cook-off or something. That is the one thing that really annoys me, because I'm a big fan of, like, you know, cooking shows. Like, I love watching. We have the Hairy Bikers in the UK. I love the Hairy Bikers. Like, they're fantastic. They're such great. They're very personable people to watch. But I hate watching food shows because they always go through the cooking thing and then they eat it and go, "Oh, this is really nice," but you'll never know. So fuck you. This is like, well, this is just the ultimate tease.
Idle now, all I can picture is you sitting next to your TV, and it's just that meme of like me pretending I have friends. That guy like going,
pretty much. That's not far wrong.
Well, it's just like the old Jim Gaffigan bit of, you know, it's like when you watch the Food Network while you're hungry, then it's like porn. But then if you're watching it and you've just eaten, it's like, why are all these people talking about food? This is
many times we watch like MasterChef, and like we've watched it and gone, I'm really hungry now. Go to the kitchen. Like, what have we got? We've got hot dogs. We've got pasta. Oh, great. Oh yay! Hardly
time for pasta dogs.
Yay! I'll make up a roux.
Well, looks like it's easy cheese hot dogs again.
Can you be bothered to go shopping for exotic ingredients in the local market? What local market? Oh yeah, we live in the middle of fucking nowhere.
No, actually, that's funny and topical because you know, we just had an ice storm event down in Texas, and so naturally, what happens is there's a run on supermarkets, and I had to go to 3 different supermarkets to find chicken. Because people are panicky, you know, over preparing.
Yeah.
I gotta see for me and mine.
Yeah,
you know,
we've just kind of had that in the UK recently. Like, as soon as the media kind of goes, there might be a shortage, everyone just goes out and buys toilet roll. Everything else is fine. Like, what the fuck? Come on.
Gasoline as well. That's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't have to travel 35 miles to work, and if I can't make it, fuck you.
All right, I'm tapping out.
Yeah,
so.
let's do that. Damar, thank you for joining us. We'd love to get you on a TT at some point. Like, this would be great. Like, if you ever have a day off, come and join us and join one of our guests.
No problem. I will be glad to come back.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to say, please don't ever call it TT ever again.
TT, come back on TT. Really? You don't like that? Don't know why I started saying that. Timelines Talks, TT. It's the no? Okay. Come on, TT with all the fresh cool kids as we like lay down some fresh.
Okay, bye.
All right,
maybe not for everyone else, but for me, that's synonymous with urine. I'm sorry.
Okay, poop pee.
Yeah.
Toop tea. All right. On that fantastic note, thank you all for going. We will see you on Wednesday for another Timelines Talks. Damar, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
I do not tolerate disrespect.
Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks, bye-bye.